Reminds me, how is Alice's father? Naruto asked. She's better, she's already regained more color in her skin, and also thanks to the fact that they had serum here. And I say that she'll be able to get up in a week, said Shizuka, which made Naruto a little happy, because without a doubt Alice would be happy to see her father out of bed. Well, I'm leaving. It's time for me to train some of the survivors in swordplay, said Mikoto, standing up. Do you mind if I join you? Asked Siko, to which Mikoto just smiled and nodded. Sure, why not, come on, it helps that I see how good you were, since I can see that you also use the sword, said Mikoto, and then both girls left. I'm leaving too. We just set up a radio station a while ago, and I'll find out if there are still survivors or if I can get them to bring us supplies, said Rika, standing up. I'll help you with that. After all, it would be good to have 2 shifts to search all day, said Conan, to which Rika nodded, and so they both left. Well, I'll go see and arrange the medical supplies. We need to know what we have so we can respond immediately to anything, said Shizuka. Do you think you could teach me to be a doctor? After all, I'm interested in helping people heal. Besides, that would reduce your workload in the future, said Umi, to which Shizuka only nodded with a smile. Nice to do it. See you, Naruto-kun, said Shizuka, then kissed Naruto's cheek and left, being followed by Umi, who saw the woman's act and got a little jealous. So they all left, leaving Naruto alone in the living room. When he realized that he was alone, he simply lay down on the sofa and let out a sigh. I see you're resting. You must be very tired after your mission and making the report on the supplies, said the voice of a woman, which caused Naruto to raise his head just to see that it was Yuriko. Seeing her, Naruto sat on the sofa. A little. The truth is there are some problems that have my head spinning, said Naruto, only to see how Yuriko offered him a glass. He took it and saw that it was tea. He took a sip and removed the glass from his mouth. Thank you. Your tea is delicious, said Naruto with a smile. Thank you. And what are those problems that make you so tired? Asked Yuriko, sitting on another sofa. Well, you see, so Naruto told him about the supplies and the shortage of water that would only last them for a week, also that it was not a good idea to leave the survivors out in the open, and he explained the same thing he had explained to Soichiro regarding the basement and the base. I see that the problem is serious. Although I am surprised that you say they can create a base here, the truth is that would be something incredible to see, said Yuriko, who also brought a glass of tea. I suppose so. But regarding the water, we believe we might have the solution, said Naruto, drawing the woman's attention. What kind of solution? Asked Yuriko. My techniques. As you know, I can use water-based techniques, and the truth is I'm not sure, but I think there's an 80% chance that the water from those techniques is drinkable. Of course, if we're talking about the water I drink from the humidity, said Naruto, surprising Yuriko a little. If that works, the lack of water would no longer be a problem and we wouldn't have to ration it, said Yuriko, to which Naruto nodded. That's why we're giving priority to that. Tonight, we'll do a test to see if the water from my techniques is drinkable or not, said Naruto, and then took the last sip of his tea as they both were drinking while talking. I hope it turns out to be good news, said Yuriko, and then stood up. Okay, I'll take that to the kitchen. Rest a bit, because remembering what happened when you created the walls, I guess you'll need it, said Yuriko, to which Naruto nodded and gave the glass to Yuriko, who took it. Thank you, said Naruto, only to see Yuriko leave. However, Yuriko didn't notice how the carpet was folded, and this caused her to trip over it. Yuriko opened her eyes at the reaction of falling and managed to see that in the direction she was falling there was a fireplace poker. She closed her eyes, preparing to feel the pain, or rather for her end, because it would surely end up embedded in her skull. However, when she didn't feel anything and felt her heartbeat, she opened her eyes only to see Naruto underneath her, both of them on the ground. Are you okay? Naruto asked, although the pain was noticeable in his voice. Yes, I'm fine, thanks to, she didn't finish saying as she saw how Naruto had the poker piercing his left shoulder. It can't be, you're bleeding a lot, said Yuriko as she saw how the blood was gushing out of Naruto's shoulder. Don't worry, I'm fine, although I'm glad to see that nothing happened to Yuriko-san, said Naruto with some difficulty. Don't talk, I'll take this off. We have to stop your bleeding, said Yuriko, a little scared because in her head she felt that it was her fault that Naruto was like that. Naruto managed to sit up only for Yuriko to take the poker and remove it from Naruto's shoulder, who screamed in pain. At that scream, a pair of footsteps were heard coming towards them. What's wrong? Asked Soichiro's voice, coming into the room only to see Naruto with a hole in his shoulder. What happened? Asked Soichiro, running and grabbing a rag to try to stop Naruto's bleeding. Now both Soichiro and Yuriko had a rag pressing on each side of Naruto's shoulder. It was my fault. If I had watched carefully where I was stepping, this wouldn't have happened, said Yuriko. Darling, explain yourself better, said Soichiro to his wife. Naruto-san and I were talking a little while we had a cup of tea, and when I was going to leave the glasses, I didn't notice that the carpet was folded and I tripped on it. The last thing I saw before closing my eyes was the fireplace poker, which was exactly in the direction in which I fell. It was certain that it would go through my skull. But when I opened my eyes, I saw that Naruto-san had the poker through his shoulder. He saved me from dying, and that's why he is in this state, said Yuriko, now shedding a couple of tears out of guilt. Yuriko-san, don't cry. Besides, there's nothing to worry about. After all, he healed very quickly from any wound, said Naruto, now able to speak better. Naruto, don't worry. I started the healing factor a few moments ago, and in a few seconds you'll be fine, said Kurama. Thanks, friend. The truth is, you have saved me many times in my life. I thank you for that, said Naruto sincerely. Wow, your condition is critical. You're even saying nonsense, said Kurama in a mocking tone. The bleeding has stopped. Tell them they can stop putting pressure on your shoulder, said Kurama, to which Naruto felt. Sakairosan, Yuriko-san, you can stop putting pressure on them now, said Naruto, to which both of them looked at him as if he was crazy. But if we take off our hands you will bleed to death, said Yuriko, to which Naruto said. The bleeding has stopped, trust me, said Naruto, to which the two adults looked at each other, and then Naruto then nodded and removed his hands only to see Naruto's shoulder regenerate quickly. See, I told you he would be fine, said Naruto, smiling although weakly. How do you heal so quickly? Soichiro asked, a little surprised. An ability that I acquired thanks to some friends. You could say that I have an almost very fast healing factor, said Naruto, which surprised both of them and brought a smile to Kurama and Matatabi, who were the ones awake that day. I see that we still don't know many of your abilities, but I'm glad you're okay. Besides, I can sense that you're not hiding this from us because you want to, but because otherwise everyone would depend on you a lot, more than we already do, said Soichiro, to which Naruto nodded. I appreciate it, Sakairosan, but I don't want you to start distrusting me, so if you allow me, tomorrow I would like to tell you about all the abilities I have, said Naruto after letting out a sigh and saying it sincerely. Okay, Naruto-san, and don't worry, you've helped us too much to start distrusting you at this point, said Soichiro sincerely. Thank you, said Naruto. On the contrary, thank you for saving Yuriko, said Soichiro with a smile. Thanks for saving me, Naruto, said Yuriko, also smiling kindly. Well, if you excuse me, I have to get ready for tonight, said Naruto, trying to stand up but wobbled a little. Be careful, you shouldn't get up like that, you lost a lot of blood, said Yuriko, holding Naruto. Boy, let's leave the test for tomorrow, said Soichiro, to which Naruto said. Don't worry, I'm fine, I'll be ready for tonight. After all, the water is a priority. I can't let others be affected just because of me, said Naruto before starting to walk towards a room, more specifically his. He's trying too hard, said Soichiro. He's a great boy, he'll definitely be a great man, said Yuriko, smiling. You know, I understand, both he and I just want the best for people. We put others before ourselves, said Soichiro, to which Yuriko nodded. There is no doubt that you and him are so similar, but at the same time different, said Yuriko, while both looked in the direction Naruto went. Well, I must go. It's 1 in the afternoon and I must see that the second guard takes their positions. I also have some papers to fix yet. That and see that everything in the camp is okay, said Soichiro, saying goodbye to his wife and then leaving. That same day at night, Naruto had slept almost 8 hours, as it was 745 at night. Looking out the window he saw that it was night, so he stood up and went to Soichiro's office. He still felt a little weak but not so much. He walked until he reached the room that was Soichiro's office. However, he heard some grunts of forcing. He quickly opened the door only for a shot to be heard. When he saw what caused the shot, he saw that it was Shido who had a pistol in his weapon. Then he saw Soichiro on the floor with a bullet wound in his stomach. What have you done? Naruto asked Shido, who pointed the gun at Naruto, who instantly entered 6 paths mode. Shido, seeing Naruto, began to shoot at him, but Naruto moved quickly, dodging the bullets. However, he was still a little weak from the blood loss of the afternoon, and although he had already recovered mostly, he was not yet fully recovered. Shido only saw Naruto disappear in a trail of light that moved quickly. He tried to hit him but missed all the bullets. Just when Naruto appeared in front of him, Shido wanted to shoot him, but he no longer had ammunition. Naruto in that instant hit Shido in the stomach, which sent him against the wall, but at the same time he lost the transformation and fell to his knees tired. It seems my body is still a little weak, Naruto thought, and then raised his gaze only to see Shido about to kick him. Damn, now I can get revenge for everything you made me go through. Not only did you ruin my plans on the bus, but you also ruined my plans to control this place by manipulating this man, said Shido with madness in his voice. You're crazy, said Naruto from the ground. Naruto Soichiro called Naruto devilishly, who only directed his gaze towards him. Skyrosen, hold on, don't talk, said Naruto, trying to stand up, but Shido kicked him again. I know I won't survive. I just wanted to tell you that you were right. This guy is very dangerous, Soichiro said haltingly. Dangerous? No, simply that I do not tolerate that people of his class send a great Jano like me. The smart ones are the ones who should rule this world, said Shido, laughing madly. Naruto, I want you to take good care of everyone, also take care of Yuriko, Saya and the others. I'll leave you in charge of everything, said Soichiro weakly. At those words, Shido frowned. Even though you're almost dying, you're a nuisance to me, said Shido, and then tried to kick Soichiro, but somehow Naruto managed to grab Shido's foot and make him lose his balance, only for him to fall to the ground. Stop getting in my way, Shido shouted and then kicked Naruto in the face. What's going on here? Asked Yuriko, arriving at the place with 3 armed men. However, when she saw Soichiro on the ground and bleeding, she quickly ran towards him. Honey, what happened to you? Asked Yuriko, shedding tears. This guy. I don't know how he managed to escape from confinement, but besides that, he managed to sneak into my office with a gun. When he arrived, he threatened to kill me if I didn't do what he said. Obviously, I refused and he approached me. I took advantage of that to try to take the gun from him, and we forged, but it seems it didn't go well, said Soichiro, then laughed a little, although weakly. This at the same time that the 3 men had their guns pointed at Shido after that Naruto arrived and prevented him from killing me. At least I have the chance to say goodbye, said Soichiro weakly and spitting a little blood as color lost in his face. Darling, don't leave me. Hold on, said Yuriko through tears because she knew that Soichiro would die. Yuriko, I always loved you, and even after my death I will continue to do so. However, I want you to continue with your life, seek happiness again. That would make me happy. Seeing that you are happy makes me happy, said Soichiro haltingly. I will, I promise, said Yuriko, agreeing to Soichiro's last words to her. Naruto, keep your promise, take care of everyone, and I leave Yuriko in your care. Help her in any way possible. If you can help her find someone who makes her happy, now you will lead all these people. I leave you in charge of everything, Naruto, said Soichiro with a half smile. I will, and I'm sorry for not being able to do anything. It seems I was still weak. I'm sorry, said Naruto, shedding some tears but looking at Soichiro. Thank you very much, now I can go in peace, said Soichiro, and then closed his eyes forever. Soichiro, Yuriko called to her husband with a slightly broken voice, darling, Soichiro. She cried the last part heartbreakingly while Naruto stood up with difficulty. Guys, take him back to the booth and stay there. Make sure he doesn't do anything strange. Also one of you stay and don't let anyone in, said Naruto, to which the three men nodded and put Shido to his feet to then take him away. After that Naruto saw Yuriko, who was hugging her husband's body. Yuriko-san. Naruto called to the woman, but she didn't answer, so Naruto went and placed a hand on her shoulder. Why? Why did this happen? Yuriko asked in a whisper. I don't know. Excuse me for not arriving earlier. When I arrived and opened the door, I saw the moment when Shido shot Sakairosen, but due to what happened in the afternoon I was still weak. But if only I had woken up earlier, if only I had arrived a little earlier, I could have avoided this, Naruto said regretfully, only for Yuriko to hug him and start crying. They stayed like that for a while until Yuriko stopped crying. Naruto, he must pay. I know that revenge is bad, but we can't let him live. He's a danger to everyone, said Yuriko, still without detaching herself from Naruto's hug. On the contrary, she sank deeper into his chest. It will be like that. He will pay for everything he has done, and as you say, revenge is never good, but only up to a certain point. In this case revenge is more than justified, said Naruto, to which Yuriko just looked at him in the eyes and Naruto with his thumbs wiped away the remains of tears. Thank you, Naruto, said Yuriko with a smile. Now, let's go. We need to fulfill a sentence, and then we will come for Sakairosen's body to give him a decent burial, said Naruto, to which Yuriko nodded and both stood up. Leaving the office, they closed the door and walked down the hallway. When they reached the beginning of it, they saw the man blocking the way of Saya and everyone who lived inside the mansion. What were those shots? Let me pass. I need to know if my father is okay, said Takagi, trying to pass, but the man prevented him. Naruto, what apology? Asked Rei, seeing Naruto arrive with Yuriko. The man, upon hearing Naruto's name, turned his gaze slightly only to see Naruto, and he nodded as a sign for him to move aside. Naruto, what happened? Why does my mother seem to have been crying? And where is my father? Asked Saya, somewhat bewildered. At this Yuriko lowered her head and tears formed in her eyes. Naruto, on the other hand, looked away from Saya, but then took a breath and looked at her fixedly only to see that she had a surprised face and tears running down her eyes. No, it can't be, it's not true, said Saya, stepping back. Saya, Sakairosen was murdered, Naruto blurted out upon hearing the news, causing Saya to fall to her knees and begin to shed more tears, leaving those present very surprised. What? How is that possible? What happened? Asked the surprised Kakashi. Shido, that happened, Naruto answered, which filled Saya's face with hatred. What happened? Mikoto asked this time. You see, said Naruto, and so he told them the same thing that Soichiro had told Yuriko, but besides that Naruto told how he got there, his condition and what happened that happened, said Naruto with regret. That bastard, I knew we shouldn't let him live, said Rei angrily. It seems you were right, Rei, but I didn't want to believe it. If it weren't for me, he would have died at school, said Kakashi in a guilty tone. It's not any of your faults. Besides, Kakashi, you couldn't have known what Shido was like, but thanks to your decision you managed to save Shin, Misato and Toka, said Naruto. But Koishi's Shido was supposed to be locked in the booth. How did he get out? Asked Hirano, to which Naruto denied. I don't know how he managed to get out, but right now he was going to gather the people to give the news, and at the same time get revenge, said Naruto, looking at Yuriko and then looking at Saya, who had her bangs darkened. He must die, she whispered to herself. That bastard will pay for what he did, she said this time in a more audible tone. He will pay me, said Saya, and then stood up and ran away. Saya, wait, Buko, tell them on the radio to stop Saya, said Naruto, to which the aforementioned nodded and gave the order to stop Saya. Let's go before he does something, said Conan, to which everyone nodded, and so they left following Saya. When leaving the house they saw how 4 men had Saya, who was kicking and twisting, struggling to escape. Let me go, that bastard is going to put them out, Saya shouts in desperation. Saya's screams woke up most of the survivors who were arriving at the place. Saya, calm down, I already told you that he will pay for what he did, said Naruto, but Saya seemed not to hear him. I'll kill him, I'll make him pay, said Saya, forcing even more. However, from one moment to another she stopped because her face ended up turned to the right. The cause of this was a slap from Yuriko, who had tears in her eyes. Saya seemed to calm down and looked at her mother. Saya, you should calm down. I know how you feel because I feel the same or worse than you. However, throwing tantrums and acting crazy won't bring him back, said Yuriko, holding back the urge to cry and without noticing that now all the refugees were gathered together. It seems everyone is here, said Ami, to which Naruto nodded. Makoto-kan, could you raise a part of the ground a little, to use it to give the warning, said Naruto, to which Mikotoa felt, and with some hand signals lifted a rock cube in which Naruto then climbed. Listen, hearing Naruto's voice, everyone turned their eyes towards him. This is an important message for everyone, said Naruto, and so he proceeded to tell about the murder of Soichiro at the hands of Koichi Shido. Everyone hearing that was upset, sad, and proclaimed revenge. Before the exclamations, Naruto raised his hand so they would remain silent. Soichiro, before dying, asked me to keep you all safe, and I plan to keep that promise. Now, as leader, I promise that I will keep you safe. And now in a few moments you will see proof of that, said Naruto, and then signaled to one of the armed guards, and he only nodded, and then 2 minutes later he arrived bringing Koichi Shido. To see him, people looked at him with hatred and repulsion. The man led Koichi to where Naruto was now. At this moment, the person responsible for the death of our former leader will pay for his actions, said Naruto, to which everyone shouted in jubilation, please, cover the children's eyes or take them inside the mansion so they don't see this, said Naruto, worried about not leaving trauma in the children when they saw someone die. The adults did so, they took the children inside the mansion and then returned. Now, yes, I ask Yuriko-san and Saya-san to come up here, said Naruto, to which the 2 women nodded and climbed the rock. While the guard who brought Koichi said something in Naruto's ear, which upon hearing what he said the man only got angrier. Yuriko, Saya, you will be in charge of the execution of this man. No, he can't even be called that. Even calling him a beast would be an honor for him, because to escape from the place where he was locked up, he killed 2 young people and used them as a ladder to escape. Then he stole a gun from the cupboard and used it to kill our leader, announced Naruto, seeing how Shido trembled with fear. You will decide the way he will die. Slowly and painfully, or quickly and without wasting time, said Naruto. As the man offered 2 9mm weapons and Naruto took out 2 kunai. You choose, said Naruto, to which the 2 women just looked at each other, then looked at Koichi and saw him with contempt. This is what you deserve, Saya said after making her decision and choosing the weapon. I agree, my daughter, you deserve to suffer, said Yuriko, holding the kunai just like Saya. However, you are not even worth our time. It is not even worth wasting ammunition on you, because they are too valuable in these cases, said Yuriko, to which Saya nodded in agreement. So the best thing would be to finish you off quickly, but in a way that makes you suffer, said Saya, and then both mother and daughter would place the kwani on Shido's neck. Die and suffer, they both said before cutting Shido's neck, and he began to bleed and drown in his own blood. Those present just watched with a smile as Koichi bled and died. A few minutes passed until Shido finally died, and everyone shouted in jubilation at the death of the subject, although 3 girls were the ones who were happiest with the man's death. Throw him outside the walls, he doesn't even deserve a burial, said Yuriko, to which 2 guards nodded and took Koichi's body and dragged it until they threw it through the gate outside. Okay, everyone can leave, we should rest because tomorrow we will start a new day, said Naruto. Now all the refugees returned to their tents, but not before taking the children out of the mansion and taking them with them. Saya, come, let's rest. We must prepare to say goodbye to your father in the morning, said Ray, taking Saya's hand, who only nodded and followed Ray, although she had a sad face. We're also leaving, said Conan, just so that all the girls nodded and went to rest, although they would rather go to keep Saya company. Takashi, Hirano, Tatsumi, help me with Sakairosen's body, said Naruto, to which the three nodded and began to walk towards Soichiro's office, where his body still remains. Yuriko, try to rest. I know it will be difficult, but it is for the best. After all, tomorrow will be a somewhat busy day, said Naruto, to which Yuriko nodded. Okay, I'll try, although I think I'll go sleep with the girls. I don't feel sure I can sleep alone tonight, said Yuriko, and then left, also sad and hurt by the death of her husband. After that, Naruto went to help the three boys with Soichiro's body. They wrapped him in some sheets and laid him on his desk, although of course after clearing the desk. There, it's done, said Hirano. Thank you, now go rest, and thank you for your help, said Naruto, to which the three nodded and left. You also go rest, you still haven't recovered from the blood loss, said Matatabi in a commanding tone. Yes, I think that will be best. See you guys, said Naruto, and then left Soichiro's office in the direction of his room. It must have been very hard for him, losing someone in front of his eyes, said Matatabi to Kurama after they cut the mental connection. It was, I could feel it. I felt that helplessness and rage of not being able to do anything to help the man, said Kurama in a sad tone, because even though he didn't accept it, it hurt him to feel those emotions in Naruto, because his life had already been full of pain, so he couldn't continue suffering more. I could also feel it, although to a lesser extent than you. Now more than ever we must support him in whatever we can, said Matatabi, to which Kurama nodded. You're right, I'll wake up the others to inform them of what happened and prevent them from saying something they shouldn't, said Kurama, to which Matatabi nodded. Naruto-kan, I hope the day comes when you don't have to suffer anymore and you can live happily, Matatabi thought before going to Kurama's. I also hope for Matatabi that day, Naruto thought as he had managed to hear everything his two friends said, as it seems they did not completely cut off the connection with him. Chapter 6 Expansion. The next day after the execution of Koichi Shido, the funeral of Soichiro Takagi was held. All who lived in the safe zone were gathered to bury their former leader. Even Naruto had put together a group to go look for a coffin at a funeral home. This was greatly appreciated by both Takagi and Yuriko, because at least her husband's father would have a coffin to be buried in. Once the coffin was buried, everyone was still present at the grave. Yesterday, we lost a great man, a great leader, a great father, a great husband, someone who decided to do the right thing instead of acting selfishly like many out there. Sakairosen, despite not having the duty to help you, even if he did, because in the little that I knew him, I realized that he was a good man of immense kindness, who put the safety of others above his own. Naruto spoke while standing in front of Soichiro's grave, and in front of everyone. Saya and Yuriko were still shedding tears, but they almost began to cry at Naruto's words. Many of the women were also moved by his words. On the other hand, the men had great respect for him because of the way they spoke of the late leader. Even yesterday morning I was talking with him. We discussed several ideas so that you would be safer. And in fact we found several ideas, some like starting to create an underground base with the help of my abilities. This to prevent you from suffering from the cold in the upcoming winter, also expanding this safe area, so more survivors arrive and space is not a problem. Another thing was that with the expansion we began to create a field where we harvest, because Ken's supplies and food is not infinite and sooner or later they will expire or run out. These and many more ideas were discussed, Soichiro and I, and let me tell you that those ideas are now a promise that intends to fulfill at all costs. Because before Soichiro died he asked me to take care of your safety and keep you safe from everything, and that's what I plan to do. I know I can never fill Sakairosen's position, but at least I will try to be as good a leader as he was, said Naruto, putting his fist on his chest where his heart is. At Naruto's words almost everyone cried because they were very emotional and comforting. Little by little everyone who went to the funeral was leaving. Even Saya had left, or rather they took her away, because her friends wanted to cheer her up a little. The only one who did not leave the place was Yuriko. she was still standing in front of Soichiro's grave with a sad look. Makoto, who had gone to arrange some things in her room, saw Yuriko through the window and felt bad for her. However, she smiled a little when she saw Naruto approaching Yuriko. If there's someone who can cheer her up, it's you, Naruto-kun, said Makoto to herself before continuing with what she was doing. It's weird, right? From one day to the next your whole world changes, said Naruto, approaching the woman, who got a little scared because she was lost in her thoughts and sadness. Have you ever lost someone? Yuriko asked without taking her eyes off the grave. Unfortunately, yes, Naruto answered, letting out a sigh. How did you feel? Yuriko asked. It was as if my world collapsed in an instant, because since I was a child I was an orphan, so I did not know my parents. I never experienced the love of a mother or a father. However, when I grew up, I met my godfather. He did not know I was alive, but when he found out, we spent many happy moments both. However, 3 years after having met him, he died on a mission. The enemy was very strong, and even knowing that he faced him just to protect me, he died in the attempt. However, he managed to collect valuable information to discover a secret of that enemy. I trained and became strong to avenge him and at the same time protect myself. I could never do it, although I defeated the enemy who killed my godfather. Right when I had him in front of me, being able to kill him, I did not do it. I could not do it, Naruto told the woman who now saw him. That's why you let us get revenge on that man, right? Yuriko asked Naruto, who looked at her. In a way, I always thought about what I would have felt if I had killed that guy who killed my godfather. Even so, I'm glad I didn't do it, because my godfather always wanted peace. His goal was to find a world in peace, said Naruto with a half smile. But then he looked Yuriko in the eyes. But getting back to you, you shouldn't be sad. Soichiro wouldn't want to see you like that. Remember, he said to look for happiness again. That would make him happy, said Naruto, to which Yuriko returned to a slightly sad face. I don't know. I don't think another man would love me, since I'm already over 30 and have a daughter. I don't think anyone would be interested in me, said Yuriko, to which Naruto just denied. You, despite being over 30, are still very beautiful. You are still young, and with all due respect, you are still very naughty. Why? I think any man could be interested in a woman as beautiful as you, said Naruto, to which Yuriko just smiled. Thanks, Naruto. But do you really think I'm naughty? Why? Asked Yuriko. I'm sure of it. Only a fool wouldn't realize it, said Naruto, to which Yuriko smiled warmly. Thanks, you really know how to cheer someone up, said Yuriko. I'm glad to hear that, because such a beautiful woman shouldn't put on a sad face, said Naruto. Oh, are you trying to flirt with me? Yuriko asked in a playful tone. What? No, I mean, Naruto stuttered, which made the woman laugh. Calm down, I'm joking. Let's go and talk about those ideas that you and my late husband talked about, said Yuriko, to which Naruto nodded. But before he could even walk, Yuriko kissed him on the cheek. At this, Naruto blushed slightly and looked at Yuriko. That's for cheering me up, said Yuriko, smiling. If every time I cheer someone up, a woman as beautiful as you gives me a kiss, I think I'll cheer a lot of people up from now on, said Naruto before leaving Yuriko a little surprised and with a slight pink tint on her cheeks. Yuriko shook her head and then looked at Soichiro's grave. Darling, I think I'll follow your advice and try to be happy again. And who knows, maybe I'll already find someone who can make me happy, said Yuriko, and then looked in the direction Naruto went. Then she followed him. A couple of hours later, Naruto was in what was once Soichiro's office. Yuriko had told him that he could use it from now on. Now Naruto was sitting behind the desk while Yuriko was in front of him, also sitting. Both had discussed the ideas that Naruto and Soichiro discussed the day before. So, are you 80% sure that the water techniques you have can be used to produce drinking water? Asked Yuriko, to which Naruto nodded. That would solve the problem of the lack of water. However, I'm also interested in building an underground base. According to what you tell me, you can use earth techniques to create it. But how will you make it resist? Because if it's only made of earth, it could collapse at any moment, and even more so with the rain, said Yuriko, to which Naruto nodded. You're right about that. However, we can use wood to make a second roof inside the earth. That is, if I create a room under the earth and we use wood to make a second roof that supports the earth, rain or a landslide should be avoided because the wood would retain it, explained Naruto, to which Yuriko nodded. But we'll have to use something better than wood, because with the rain and the weight it starts to bend little by little and at some point it will break, said Yuriko. In that case we could use metal, but the question is where to get it, because, although I can create it with an ability, I have not used it yet, and I am not sure if it works well, said Naruto, to which Yuriko was slightly surprised, but then smiled. Every day you surprise me more with a new thing, but regarding the subject, although metal could be the best option, it is true that it will be a little difficult to find it. However, we could use cement to create the roof first, and thus give us more time to find the necessary metal, said Yuriko, to which Naruto smiled. Wow, and to think that someone so beautiful was equally intelligent. Well, it only remains to be seen when we will begin with the creation of the base, because I believe that and obtaining water and food is the priority, the three things of equal priority, because winter, as I understand it, is near, said Naruto, to which Yuriko nodded. You know, I'm starting to think that you're actually flirting with me, said Yuriko mockingly, but let's leave that for later, and you're right. There are only 2 months left until winter, and we should start looking for a way to get food, said Yuriko. Today I will send a search party to go and look for more supplies. I will send a clone of mine with them. I will also ask someone to make an inventory of the ammunition and weapons we have available when that group returns, Naruto said seriously, which intrigued Yuriko. And why is that? Asked Yuriko. We will start expanding the walls further out. I'm sure more survivors will keep coming here and space will run out soon. Also, we must start growing food if we want to survive without risking so many people, said Naruto, which surprised Yuriko. I see, and now that you mention it, you're right. Yesterday afternoon 4 more survivors arrived and there is less and less space and fewer tents for them, said Yuriko. That's why we'll start expanding at the time we create the base and get supplies, Naruto said seriously. So many things to do in such a short time, and all of them are necessary to survive, said Yuriko, letting out a sigh. But at that moment the door opened, revealing Rika breathing heavily, proof that she was running. Naruto, we received a radio signal, said Rika, which caught the attention of the two. Where from? Naruto asked, standing up. United States, said Rika, confusing Naruto. United States? Naruto asked. It's another country on another continent. I'll explain that to you later, said Yuriko to Naruto, who still felt intrigued. They said they wanted to talk to the person in charge, said Rika, to which Naruto nodded. Okay, let's go, said Naruto as he began to follow Rika, as did Yuriko. Naruto followed Rika to where they had set up the radio station. Upon arriving he saw Konan there as well as 2 other people. Is the signal still there? Rika asked as she arrived at the radio station. Yes, but I don't understand them, said Konan as Rika sat next to her. It's because they speak another language, said Rika before grabbing the microphone. Mr. President, here is the leader of this safe zone. It's Uzumaki, Naruto said Rika to the microphone. I am Harold, the president's translator. I will translate the entire conversation. For your convenience, we will do it in your language. If I don't understand something or I get confused, I would appreciate it if you could translate it into my language, Harold said through the radio. Of course, I will take care of translating if you don't understand the person who runs this area, said Rika, then turned off the microphone and looked at Naruto. Naruto-kun, the position of president is literally the leader of an entire country, so they should be addressed with respect, Rika said to Naruto, who nodded, and Rika turned the microphone back on. Mr. President, how can I help you? Naruto asked, only for the translator to translate it for the president. Mr. Uzumaki, it's a pleasure to talk to you. I'll be honest and get to the point. We would like you to allow the survivors of our country to go to your safe zone, since we learned that it is the safest one there could be so far. Harold translated what the president said. It's also a pleasure to speak with the president. Also, I don't know how you found out about this safe zone, but I don't think it's the safest, not yet. Even so, I think I'll have to reject your request, since we don't have enough space. We are currently planning to expand the zone and create an underground base, but we lack the material for it, said Naruto, to which Gerald translated, although both of them were intrigued when they heard Naruto's voice. Does Mr. President want to know how old you are, Mr. Uzumaki? Harold asked. What month is it here? Naruto asked Rika. It's October 15th, Rika answered Naruto. 5 days ago I turned 18, said Naruto, which surprised most. And you're in charge of an entire secure zone? Harold asked, intrigued. If I may, I can say that Naruto is very capable of running a safe zone in an excellent way. He is a born leader and everyone here trusts him completely. And we can back that up, said Rika, looking at Naruto with a smile which was returned by Naruto. I understand. Well, back to the topic. We only ask for authorization to send survivors to your base. They could help you with whatever you need to make your base safer. And with respect to the materials, we could send some help with that. Recently, one of our agents arrived with less than 20 survivors. They arrived at a base in North Carolina, but now they are on their way here. If you give us the authorization, we could send those survivors, Harold translated calmly, which told Naruto that they were hiding something. Mr. Harold, what is your current situation? And I want the truth, because I hear you are very calm for what is happening today, asked Naruto, to which Gerald translated, and only a sigh was heard from the president. Okay, the fact is that most of our bases fell due to the bandits, because apparently one of them pretended to be a survivor, and when they were inside they opened the doors to their friends, and looted everything, killed the few guards that were there and left the doors open. Some survivors managed to escape, but most were attacked by the zombies and converted. Currently we have almost 3,000 people in the last base we have, which is the White House itself, but we cannot take care of all these survivors. That is why we are asking for authorization and asylum for our survivors, said Harold, according to what the president told him. Very well, 3 days. If you can wait that long, you have authorization. We will only need 3 days to create a safe path for those who arrive and at the same time expand our base further, said Naruto, to which everyone looked at him between surprised and somewhat happy to see that Naruto was so good to those who needed him. You are definitely just like Soichiro, Naruto thought Yuriko, looking at Naruto with a smile. We appreciate that, young Uzumaki. Then in 3 days we will send some of our survivors, and in turn those days will give us time to gather some materials to send them to reinforce your base. Most likely it will be metal, because I think that is what you will need the most, said Harold. Thank you. Now if you allow me, I have matters to take care of to prepare everything for the arrival of your survivors, said Naruto seriously. I understand, and we appreciate your time, Harold said before the connection was cut off. Well, we have a lot to do. We will need 3 armed groups to start clearing the areas around the mansion, at least 5 streets. We need to expand the terrain for the next survivors. I will also need 4 groups of at least 4 people to accompany me to create a safe path from the airport to here, said Naruto, to which Mikoto and Rika nodded. I'll go prepare some teams, and I'd like to take charge of leading one of them to clean the areas for base expansion, said Mikoto. Okay. Even so, each team will bring 1 or 2 clones of me, said Naruto seriously, to which Mikoto nodded. I'll take care of notifying some of the men with the radio. I'll see if I can find volunteers, and I'll see if some of the military out there can support us, said Rika before taking a radio. Thanks for your help. Now let's go, Naruto didn't finish saying as he fell to his knees and was breathing a little raggedly. This worried those present, and even more the 4 girls. Naruto-kun, are you okay? Conan asked, approaching Naruto, as did Rika and Mikoto. Yes, just a little tired. I just received the memories of my clones that I left training some skills since this morning, said Naruto, taking a breath to catch his breath. How many did you leave? Mikoto asked. I left a few, there were only 300, said Naruto, which surprised the four women. 300 clones of you, that's a lot of pressure, said Yuriko, surprised. Yuriko-san is right. That's too much for your body, Rika said as a scolding. It's true, although that amount of clones does not represent danger, Naruto. Because if I remember correctly, the most he was seen to make was almost 2,000 clones, said Mikoto, which surprised the two women who were not from Naruto's dimension. 2,000, that's a lot, said Rika, surprised. In the war, I remember that I used more of those to go to all the battalions to help, and also when they were all together I created several more to defeat Kagaya, said Konan. More than 2,000? How could you handle so much tiredness? Rika asked Naruto. When I train, I'm getting used to it, and now I get less tired, said Naruto simply. And he says it as if it were nothing, said Rika. Well, let's get everything ready for what we have to do, said Mikoto, to which everyone nodded and started to leave. In Washington, Leon had managed to reach the White House with the 20 survivors, which was the last safe zone in the country. Upon arrival, he was surprised by the number of survivors. He then went to report his mission, and some officers gave the newcomers a place to rest, although it was very small since there were many people. Well done, Leon. According to your report, they were the only survivors of an entire colony. You managed to bring them all without losing a single one. Very well. Now the president wanted to see you, said Captain Smith, who was the one in charge of security in that place. The president? Asked Leon. That's it. So you better go immediately, said Smith, to which Leon nodded and headed towards the president's office, where he assumed he would be. Upon arriving, he knocked a couple of times and received a pass. Mr. President, did you want to see me? Leon asked respectfully. Leon Scott Kennedy, a survivor of what happened in Raycon City. That's why I can deduce that you have experience in the matter of the living dead, said the president, to which Leon just nodded his head, affirming what the president said. Well, I have news for you. The survivors you brought will be sent to Japan to the safe zone that had been discovered, said the president, which surprised Leon. Did you manage to contact them? Leon asked, to which the president nodded. Yes, but we have to wait 3 days, so they can prepare everything to have space for the arrival of the survivors. Also, we found out that they need some materials, so I will give you a special mission. You must go in search of metal in good condition, that and supplies. If you manage to find more survivors, bring them too. But you will not go alone. I will give you a team of 5 men, and you will also go with a special agent. She will be waiting at the entrance door in 4 hours, so get ready, said the president, to which Leon nodded. It will be done, sir. Now with your permission, I'm leaving. I'll go eat a little and rest to be ready for the mission, said Leon, to which the president nodded, and then Leon left the office. In a city near Washington. Damn, they really are heavy, said Leon with effort as he arrived and helped carry a metal plate. The package label said each one weighed almost 170 kilos, said one of the soldiers carrying the plate. Between the 6 of them, they had to move the metal plates from one place to the container, which was the box of a trailer, but they had to travel almost 70 meters carrying the plate. The men continued carrying the plates from one place to another. Almost half an hour passed and they were only able to move 15 plates, and they still needed 585 plates. But suddenly they heard a vehicle going in their direction. Hey guys, look what I found, said Ada, arriving with a forklift, to which Leon just smiled. It took you a while to find him and get to him, said Leon. Well, next time I think I'll let the owners know so they can leave me the manual on how to turn it on and how it works, said Ada sarcastically, which generated a bigger smile on Leon's face. I understand, now bring it here. We will load the plates on a pallet for you to pick up and take them to the container, said Leon, to which Ada just nodded. So the soldiers put a wooden pallet where they were simply moving the plates in an easier way, because now they only had to move them about 4 meters. An hour later they had managed to load a pallet with 100 plates ready. The first one, Take it and come back for more, said Leon, to which Ada nodded and handled the forklift with the 100 plates. It was a surprise for everyone to see that the forklift could lift almost 2 tons, but then they assumed that it was something normal, because if it was a metal factory, the forklift should be special and have been adapted to support very heavy loads. A couple of blocks from the factory. Look, military trucks, said Ellis, pointing to 2 military trucks. Apparently there are soldiers there, because the lights are on, said Nick as he noticed the truck's headlights on. We arrived with them. Maybe they will take us to a safe area, said Rochelle, to which Coach nodded, and they hurried more. When they arrived, they parked and got out armed, because they never knew if they would have to use weapons to defend themselves. What do you think the military does in a metal factory? Ellis asked his companions. I don't know, maybe looking for a place for a new safe zone or some supplies to repair something, Coach answers vaguely. That doesn't matter. What matters is that they help us, said Nick. So the group of 4 entered the factory. Upon entering, they walked towards where the forklift could be heard, only to see metal plates being moved into a trailer container. Excuse me, Rochelle called out, only for the soldiers to quickly draw their weapons and point them at the newcomers. Don't move and lower your weapons, said Leon, pointing a 9mm at the newcomers, who only raised their hands. Don't shoot, we didn't come here to do anything wrong, said Rochelle, putting her shotgun on the ground. This was followed by Coach, Ellis, and reluctantly Nick. What are you doing here? Leon asked, lowering his weapon and signaling the soldiers to do the same. We saw the trucks and wanted to know if you could take us to a safe area. We traveled from another city in search of a safe place, Ellis said. And that's what weapons are for? Asked a soldier. Well, we have to protect ourselves with some of those things, said Nick. Okay, pick up your weapons, but don't try anything or that's it, said Leon, to which the 4 nodded and raised their weapons. Why are you moving those metal plates? Rochelle asked as Ada returned from dropping off the second pallet of plates. We must take metal to send to a safe zone in another country so that they allow us to send the survivors there, since there is overpopulation in our safe zone, and one of the conditions for sending people there was that we send supplies and construction materials, said Leon. Of course they didn't tell him this, but he sensed it. Where are they sending him? Ellis asked. They didn't tell us. Our mission is only to collect metal and take it, and if we can gather supplies, we should take them too, said a soldier. Now why don't you come and help us? That way we'll finish faster and leave sooner, said Leon, to which the 4 nodded and went to help. When Ada arrived with the forklift, Coach was the one in charge of taking them, while Ada and Rochelle looked for any kind of supplies in the factory, be it medical supplies or food and drinks. 4 hours later. This is the last load of plates. Once you leave, we will start putting in the missing metal, said Leon to Coach, who nodded. Come on, we'll start carrying these metal boxes to the trucks. The container already weighs enough to add more, said Nick, to which everyone, including Leon, nodded. That's true, now let's go. Let's finish first. Let's go back first, said Leon, and then they started to take boxes in which they had thrown metal, and some of them took them just like that. After 40 minutes, all the metal had been loaded onto the trucks. Ada and Rochelle had managed to find some medicines and some junk food and some vending machines. They also loaded this onto the trucks. Everything is ready to go, said a soldier. Who knows how to drive a trailer? Asked Ada. I know a little. An uncle of mine was a truck driver, and he took me several times while he was working because he wanted me to know how to drive trucks for some reason, said Ellis. Okay, then we'll take care of it, kid. Take that trailer and hook up the box where we put the plates, said Leon, to which Ellis nodded. Don't worry, I'll go with you. I took a light truck driving course when I was young, Coach said, patting Ellis lightly on the back. Okay. Everyone else get on the trucks and let's wait for them to take the load to leave, said Leon, while Ada was already on the military truck. Nick, come on, we'll follow them in the truck, Rochelle said, to which Nick nodded, and so they both went towards the truck in which they arrived. It wasn't more than 10 minutes before they left the factory back to the White House. On the way they again shot at zombies that came out of nowhere. Luckily they hadn't been mutants, or else they would have been in trouble. Once they arrived they parked outside the White House. "We're here," said Leon, then got off the truck. "Wow, I never thought the White House would be the safe zone," said Coach, still inside the trailer. "Neither do I," said Ellis, and then saw how Leon got off and signaled them to get off too. "Let's go," said Ellis, to which Coach nodded. "Welcome to the safe zone," Leon said as Ellis's group arrived at the entrance gates of the safe zone. "Wow, the White House. I think this must be the most luxurious safe zone there is," said Nick, looking at the White House. "Come on, let's go in," said Leon, watching as the soldiers and Ada were already entering. The group of 4 just nodded and followed Leon. "Leon, we must inform," said Ada, to which Leon nodded. "Guys, take care of them. Take them to a place to rest and give them something to drink and eat," said Leon to the soldiers, who nodded. Leon and Ada walked through the White House toward the president's office. Upon arrival, they gave the full and detailed report. The president just nodded and congratulated them for doing their job. "Okay, done. Tomorrow morning we will inform Japan that we have obtained the material, and in turn we will begin to look for a plane to send the survivors and the medal," said the president, and then looked at Ada. "Now, Ada Wong, you will go with the survivors to Japan. You will be like our ambassador. Also, by sending one of our best agents, we show that we will support them in anything as long as they give us asylum to our survivors," said the president, to which Ada only nodded. "Very well, Mr. President. I will be ready for when the day of departure comes," said Ada. "Okay, you can go, Leon. You are waiting for orders," said the president, and the two left the office. Wow, a promotion under these circumstances. Who would have thought it? And even more so coming from the President of the United States himself, said Leon, to which Ada just gave him a look that said seriously, okay, I just wanted to liven things up," said Leon with his hands defensively. "Well, it didn't work," said Ada. "Can I help you pack your things for your trip?" asked Leon. "Sure, if you can help me learn Japanese in 2 days, I accept your help," said Ada, to which Leon got a little nervous. "I think I'd better go see how the new survivors are doing," said Leon before leaving Ada with a half smile. Then she went to the White House library to see if they had a book to learn Japanese. Elsewhere in an underground facility. "How's the new project going?" a man asked. "In progress and on good track. Subject number 13C54 is stable and does not present deformities or mutations," said another man as they looked at a man inside a glass tube which was filled with a green liquid. "Okay, keep it up. Now, as we're going with that other matter, have you managed to find her yet?" the man asked. "No, sir, we haven't found her yet. Apparently, she knows how to avoid satellites very well. The last time we saw her, she was 200 kilometers from Las Vegas, but that was a week ago," said the man, looking at the image of a woman on the screen. "Where are you, Alice? Where are you hiding?" the man wondered, looking at the image of the woman. The light from the screen revealed that the man had blonde hair and was wearing dark glasses. "In Japan with Naruto." "Come on, keep shooting. We'll be almost there," said Naruto to 5 men who were shooting at a horde of 50 zombies. "Aim for the head. Don't leave any standing," said Naruto, and then threw several shuriken towards the horde. "Sir, Team 5 has already finished clearing Sector 4, now your clone is building the wall," said a man carrying a radio. "Okay, have them retreat as soon as the clone finishes with the wall," said Naruto, to which the man nodded and reported. "Come on, let's hurry. There are not more than 4 hours left until nightfall," said Naruto, to which the men nodded and began to advance towards the zombies while shooting. A couple of hours later. "Well done, we're done here. Now I'll create the wall, and we'll leave," said Naruto, and then started to create the rock wall. Once finished, the group saw how this was the last one missing for the new perimeter of walls to be ready. It's getting dark, we better go back to rest. Tomorrow we still have a lot of things to do, said Naruto, turning around and starting to walk towards the mansion. The group just nodded and started to follow him. Naruto, are you sure you can build the base in that amount of time? Asked Chomei. I have no choice. I must do it for the survivors we have and who will arrive, Naruto answered with determination. Even so, creating an underground base in 3 days is almost impossible, and even less so without having the materials, said Gyuki this time. I know, but at least we expanded the perimeter more, so the survivors will have more space, said Naruto after letting out a sigh. At least, but remember, you still need to see the water source, the food source, and the path that the foreign survivors will use to get safely to the base, said Chomei. I know a lot of things, little time, and the fact that I'm training with my clones doesn't help much, Naruto said to himself. Come on, if we can, we'll help you with anything, said Gyuki, to which Naruto smiled. Thanks guys, well, see you later. Now I'll go check the reports of today's mission, said Naruto, saying goodbye to his friends. Okay, see you later another day, they both said before cutting the mental link, and Naruto was already arriving at the mansion. When he arrived, he let those who came out of my house rest, and he went to the office to read the reports of the mission they carried out. Chapter 7. You again? There were 2 days left for the arrival of the new American survivors, and there were still many things to do, mainly to see if his Suiton jutsus were capable of being used to produce drinking water. This could be done thanks to having Isaba sealed in him. He could use the humidity of the environment to create water. Now Naruto, Mikoto, and Konan were gathered at the back of the mansion, the three at a distance of about 10 meters from each other. Ready? Naruto asked, to which both women nodded and then performed a joint sequence of hand seals earth-style rock sinking, exclaimed the three shinobi, creating a rectangle more than 15 meters deep, 10 long and 6 wide. After finishing the rectangle of rocks, Naruto made a hand pose and the walls of the hole began to be replaced by wood, although only on the edges it was joined, since the wood had created a kind of container, leaving a space of about 20 centimeters between the wood and the walls of the hole. Lava-style hardened lime, Naruto exclaimed, only to have lime start to come out of his mouth and fill the space between the wood and the ground. When he finished, he made a great sequence of seals only to inhale deeply. Water-style large jet of water, Naruto exclaimed, only to launch a powerful jet of water from his mouth that quickly filled the wooden container. When the wooden container became flat, Naruto stopped throwing water. Okay, let's test it, said Naruto, just to grab a bowl. Then he went to the container and bent down to fill the bowl. Once it was full, he left it on the ground and a thirsty dog came and started drinking from the water. To everyone's surprise, he only took a couple of sips and was happy again and wagging his tail, a sign that he was no longer thirsty. Well, it is a fact that it is drinkable, said Naruto, petting the dog and then giving him a signal, and the dog went to play. Well, that leaves one less problem. Now regarding the crops, said Konan. For that we must see where we will do it, and see if the place is fertile, said Mikoto as Yuriko arrived. From the big dog's reaction I can tell that the drinking water experiment was a success, said Yuriko with a smile. That's right, now we only have 2 of the 3 most urgent things left, said Naruto. The food, I mean the crops, and the base, said Mikoto, to which Naruto just nodded slightly. I've already planned the base, but we'll need a lot of chakra for it, since we're on a hill and there isn't much space for large crops, said Naruto, becoming thoughtful. Mikoto-san and I could raise a large amount of earth until it is at the height of the mansion's grounds, said Konan, although they knew that after that they would be very exhausted. If you do that, you will be very exhausted, and the soil you would raise would be hard and we wouldn't be able to plant in it, said Naruto, to which the girls had to admit that it was true. But what if we get some dirt and throw it on top of the rock we lift? Mikoto asked, to which Naruto just thought. It could work, but they would still be very tired, said Naruto with some concern. Puppy, we can avoid that if I give them some of my chakra, just like in the war, said Kurama, to which Naruto smiled. You always saving me, Kurama. Thank you, said Naruto, and then extend his years to the two women. Take my hands, Kurama will help you do the jutsu, said Naruto, to which both girls took Naruto's hand, but when doing so they blushed at the touch of Naruto's hands and how warm they were. Yuriko saw this with jealousy, but was surprised when a red energy spilled on her and began to surround the two women until it adopted a fox-shaped aura. With this we can do the jutsu without getting exhausted, said Konan, to which Mikoto nodded, and then both kunoichis walked towards one of the walls of the mansion. The good thing is that they were no longer the walls that Naruto raised, because last night Naruto, Konan, Mikoto, and almost 20 groups of about 8 armed men, each one also went with a clone. They were in charge of annihilating the zombies in a perimeter of about 400 meters from the walls of the mansion. When they finished, Naruto and the clones created new walls of the same size, or rather, walls that reached 20 meters above the roof of the mansion. That night many were happy because now they had expanded more and the survivors could occupy some of the houses that were left inside the walls. Earth-style rock lifting, both women exclaimed, only for a hardened earth slab about 80 meters wide by 200 meters long to rise until it was level with the ground of the mansion. When they finished, both girls were panting slightly, and some drops of sweat fell down their beautiful faces. It's ready, said Mikoto, catching her breath. No, it costs you sass much AC, I thought, said Konan, also catching her breath. Well done, girls, now please rest. I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to you for overexerting yourself, Naruto said with concern, which made both girls blush. Okay, Naruto-kun, but only because you say so, said Mikoto, looking away so they wouldn't see her blush. Okay. We're leaving now, we'll be in our room, said Konan, as did Mikoto, with their gaze averted. After that, they both left with their gaze lowered so that Naruto wouldn't notice their blushes. What's wrong with you? Naruto asked, to which Yuriko just smiled. Oh, nothing. Just talk to them later and invite them to walk through the streets of the area you expanded. I'm sure that will make them feel better, or maybe with a dinner between the three of you. I think the latter is better. I'm sure that will make them feel better, said Yuriko, to which Naruto became a little more confused until he understood what Yuriko was referring to. Oh, I see. I think dinner will be the best option, said Naruto with a smile, but then turned to see the large part of hardened earth that Mikoto and Konan lifted. Now we just need to collect some soil and pour it on this hardened rock to start planting, said Naruto. I think we can put together a group that includes Takashi and some of the boys to bring soil from some yards or the nearby forest to start planting soon, said Yuriko, approaching Naruto. I think so. I would go myself, but I have to plan the base, said Naruto before feeling a head rest on his shoulder. When he turned he saw that it was Yuriko, who had her eyes closed and a light blush on her cheeks. Yuriko-san. Naruto called to the woman. Just let me be like this for a few moments, said Yuriko, then turned around and hugged Naruto and now buried her face in Naruto's chest. You know, you're a great boy, kind, gentle, you look after others before yourself, you put the safety of others before your own. Because of that way of acting, I've started to develop strange emotions inside me, said Yuriko, still hugging Naruto, who got an idea of where this conversation was going. Yuriko-san, Naruto didn't finish saying when lips pressed against his. This surprised him, but after a few seconds he reciprocated the kiss. A minute later they both separated due to the lack of air. I think I love you, Naruto-kun, although I must admit that part of these feelings and my crush on you has to do with you having the same attitude as Soichiro. However, most of these feelings are because of your unique personality and kindness that is very different from Soichiro's. Besides, I can notice that you are always honest, no matter the situation or who you tell. You are always honest. Besides, you are a chivalrous person and you treat women very well, and that is what attracts me most to you, said Yuriko with a slight blush. Yuriko, I don't know what to say, because I never thought you would feel that way about me, but I promised Soichiro that I would look for someone who could make you happy, said Naruto, only for Yuriko to put a finger on his lips, silencing him. And you are that man who will make me happy, I know it. Although I probably won't be the only one, because I know there are some girls who have the same feelings for you, and the way the world is I can't be selfish taking you for myself, said Yuriko, although the last bit was a bit jealous. Wait, what do you mean? Naruto asked as best he could. I mean that you will have a harem, this in order to prevent humanity from becoming extinct. Also, as I said, although I do not like it, I know that it is necessary, and also because of your personality. I know that you will not leave any of us aside and you will love us all equally, said Yuriko, smiling. But although I admit that I also have feelings for you, for Kananchan, for Makoto-kan, and for some girls, it doesn't seem fair to me. You deserve something better than this little girl in front of you, said Naruto. You see, that's what I mean. Even though I know you feel the same for me as I do for you, even though you feel the same for other girls, you care more about us than about yourself. That's what at least makes me fall in love with you, said Yuriko, putting her hand on Naruto's cheek. But Yuriko silenced Naruto again. Naruto-kun, I love you, and I want to be with you. Like I said, I don't care if you have more girls, as long as you love us all equally it will be enough for me, said Yuriko, and then kissed Naruto, who reciprocated the kiss. Then I promise to make you the happiest woman in the world, even if it costs me my life, said Naruto, and then kissed Yuriko again. They lasted like that for a few minutes. Hey Mom, do you know where Naruto is? Some survivors arrived and Saya didn't finish saying when she saw her mother and Naruto kissing very passionately, and what surprised her the most was that apparently her mother liked it, and didn't try to move away. On the contrary, she tried to deepen the kiss more. But what's going on here? Saya shouted, causing Naruto and Yuriko to separate, and see Saya, who apparently had tears in her eyes, before running away. Saya, wait, said Yuriko. But it was too late because Saya had left. I better go and talk to her. Naruto-kun, you look for a group to collect that soil and bring it back to start planting. And remember what happened with Maikoto-san and Konanzan, said Yuriko, and then gave Naruto one last kiss. And we'll finish this later or tomorrow, said Yuriko after detaching herself from Naruto and then going after Saya. Sure, see you, said Naruto, watching as Yuriko also ran to go look for Saya. Well, I'd better go look for a group for the search, said Naruto, and then went to look for the men who would make up the collection group. 2 hours later, 12 o'clock p.m. Naruto was in the office that once belonged to Soichiro. He was looking out the window and looked seriously at the walls. An hour ago he had gathered a group of 20 people to go by land to a nearby forest, or to the gardens of houses that had trees or plants. The group went in 2 trucks to load the earth onto the back wall. After that, Naruto spoke with the group of survivors who had arrived in the area. But what the survivors told him surprised him, and made him adopt a serious attitude. First those long-tongued, super-muscled mutants, and now this, said Naruto, remembering what the survivor had told him. The door was knocked a couple of times. Come in, said Naruto, only for the door to be opened, and Yuriko entered through it. What are you doing? Yuriko asked, approaching Naruto. Thinking, said Naruto without turning around and still looking out the window. What's wrong? I see you're worried and serious, said Yuriko as she arrived with Naruto and hugged him from behind. The newly arrived survivors told me something worrying, said Naruto, then turned around and noticed how Yuriko had somewhat red eyes and her right cheek was red. Are you okay? What happened to you? Asked Naruto with concern. Oh, it's nothing. I talked to Saya and let's just say things didn't go so well, said Yuriko sadly. I'm sorry, Saya got mad at you and you got hurt because of me, said Naruto, and then put his hand on Yuriko's cheek, and with some chakra from Kurama the cheek stopped being red. Don't worry, she had her reasons, and I also think it must be difficult for her to see me with another man, and even more so since her father recently died, said Yuriko somewhat sadly. Even so, that wasn't enough reason for him to hit you, said Naruto, and then Yuriko hugged him. I think that was reason enough. Besides, I just have to give her time. She'll assimilate the idea that I'm with you now, said Yuriko, although Naruto managed to feel his shirt getting wet, a sign that Yuriko was crying. Naruto just hugged her and started stroking her back to calm her down. Everything's okay. I know something else happened, but I won't ask because I know it was painful for you, Naruto said in Yuriko's ear. Thank you, whispered Yuriko. After a few minutes, Yuriko calmed down and dried her tears. Sorry for showing myself like this, said Yuriko, to which Naruto denied. Don't worry, in fact, I'm glad you finally got rid of all that pain you were repressing, said Naruto with one of his trademark smiles. Well, what was it that had you so worried? Asked Yuriko. Oh, the survivors who just arrived told me they saw new mutants. Apparently there are now some species of zombies that mutated and can now fly. Just now that we managed to expand the walls more so that the survivors are safer and more comfortable, and now there are those things. But flying, said Naruto, somewhat frustrated. That is very bad news. All the effort of you and those men was for nothing, said Yuriko, surprised. I have to do something. They trust me to protect them, said Naruto seriously. And what will you do? Have you thought of anything yet? Asked Yuriko, to which Naruto nodded. Yes, although it would cost me a lot and I would probably be very exhausted. I have a plan to prevent those things from happening, said Naruto, which worried Yuriko. If it's so dangerous, then don't do it. We can find another solution before nightfall, said Yuriko, to which Naruto denied with a smile. I must do it, otherwise we won't have time until night falls. Because even if we manage to find another way, we will lose a lot of time looking for the materials for what we have in mind, said Naruto, to which Yuriko could no longer respond, Nara, knowing that Naruto was right. And what will you do? Asked Yuriko. Come on, you'll see now, said Naruto, and then created a clone you know who to temporarily pass the command to if I fall unconscious, said Naruto, to which his clone nodded and left. Come on, do what I planned at once, said Naruto, taking Yuriko by the hand and then leaving with her. They left the mansion and arrived at the center of the front yard. Okay, here I go, said Naruto, and then traced a very long sequence of hand seals. Metal-style iron, Maya, exclaimed Naruto, only to see a metal pillar emerge from the ground in front of him that when it reached the height of the walls began to spread towards the walls. But the peculiar thing was that the metal that expanded was something like a mosquito net, but made of pure metal. Damn. This is taking longer than planned, said Naruto, who could already see some drops of sweat running down his face. Puppy, we'll help you with the chakra, said Kurama, only for him and Gyuki to start giving chakra to Naruto. Thanks, guys, now I think I can, said Naruto as his body was surrounded by the two-tailed cloak. A couple of minutes later, the metal mesh had finally been put in place, and Naruto dropped the seal that kept him and ended up on one knee, panting heavily. Yuriko quickly approached him to see if he was okay. Are you okay, Naruto-kun? Asked Yuriko, watching as Naruto panted slightly, and also had some drops of sweat on his face. Yeah, only, that was actually tiring, Naruto said after a few seconds, and his breathing normalized a bit. By the way, what was that red aura that surrounded you? Yuriko asked curiously. Well, that's it. Let's say some friends lent me their power, and it manifested in that red aura, said Naruto, to which Yuriko seemed to believe him. I see, those friends are on your mind, right? Asked Yuriko, to which Naruto was surprised. I don't know what you're talking about, Naruto said calmly. Come on, you can trust me. Besides, one night I heard you talking to someone, and out of curiosity I looked inside your room only to see that you were alone. But you were saying something about Kurama and Matatabi, said Yuriko, to which Naruto only sighed, knowing that they had discovered him. Also how to complain to the woman. Because in fact it was her house and she had the right to enter the rooms even if they were occupied, to make sure that nothing bad happened. Okay, you see, said Naruto, and so he began to tell Yuriko. Elsewhere was Saya. Saya was crying, but at the same time she was upset, because the scene of her mother kissing Naruto had shocked her too much. How could her mother have done that? And even more, how could she do it even when it hadn't even been 4 days since her father's death? But that wasn't what kept her crying, because she knew that her father would want her mother to find happiness again. What hurt her was something else, because 2 days ago she had found Rei and Takashi kissing behind the weapons depot. This affected her a little, because she liked Takashi, but the fact that it didn't affect her before was because in the time she had spent with the whole group before they arrived at her parents' house. During that time she began to fall in love with Naruto. She was attracted to his way of being, the seriousness with which he took important things, and yet he knew when to joke to lift spirits, that and his sapphire blue eyes that when Adam were as calm as a lake in the middle of a meadow in spring, but when he got serious and upset, those eyes showed all the fury of a great hurricane in the middle of the ocean, with the roaring waves demonstrating the great turmoil that storm causes. That's what she saw in those eyes. That's why when she saw her mother kissing Naruto she couldn't do anything but run away in tears, because her own mother had taken him away from the man she had fallen in love with. Now the reason why she was furious is because her mother chased her and talked to her, but what really upset her was when she said that she would agree to share Naruto because there were several women who loved him, and also with the threat of the undead, it is most likely that humanity will be greatly reduced, and the only way to prevent humans from becoming extinct was for each woman to give at least children. That is why Naruto was doing his best to create a completely safe base. Sada did not listen anymore because he slapped his mother. He claimed and insulted her for the fact that she wanted to share a boy with more women. That in his way of thinking was degrading to his mother. After telling his mother what he thought, he ran away. "So here you were," said a voice unfamiliar to Saya. She turned around and saw Siko arriving with her. "What are you doing here?" Saya asked, hiding her face in her arms, as she was sitting against a wall with her legs bent. "Well, your mother, Naruto, and the other kids were worried when we saw you running out of the mansion grounds. Oh well, only the kids and I saw you. But even so, Naruto-kun and your mother are worried about you and ordered someone to look for you," said Siko, which made Saya annoyed at the mention of the suffix in Naruto's name. "Tell me, Siko, do you like Naruto?" Saya asked without looking up. Siko simply blushed at this. But when she remembered that night at the hotel where they stayed with the family, she smiled at the memory. "Yes, I like him, but why the question?" asked Siko. "Did you know that my mother and Naruto were together?" asked Saya, looking at Siko, who was surprised, but the one who was more surprised was Saya when Siko showed a light smile. "Yes, I already knew, although until yesterday they were not together yet. You see, me, her and some other girls love Naruto-kun. We all fell in love with him, but when we discovered that we all loved him we resolved it in a civilized way. We talked about the matter and after several hours we decided to share him. Because currently we do not know how many people are left in the world, we may be the last or there may still be a few. Also, if to be happy I have to share the person I like, I will do it without hesitation, because I do not mind sharing Naruto-kun with more girls, if that means that I can be happy by his side. Also, from what Mikoto-san and Konan-san told us, he would not love one more than others," said Siko, which surprised Saya. "But that's not right. A man can't have several women with him. It's immoral. Besides, how do you know you'll be happy sharing him? How do you know he'll reciprocate your feelings? How do you know he won't leave you in the future for one of the others or for another girl?" Saya asked, annoyed at what Siko told her. "I don't know, but that's life. You take risks and make an effort to achieve what you want, and regarding the latter, I really don't know. But my heart tells me to pursue my happiness with Naruto-kun and to trust that he will reciprocate, and love me just as he would love the girls he probably has," said Siko with a hand on her chest. "That's stupid. How can you trust your feelings when they only hurt you? How can you trust them when they might be wrong and you'll end up hurt more in the future," said Saya. "Saya, don't be afraid. What you feel is insecurity about yourself, and from the way you say it, I'm sure that you also like Naruto-kun, and you're afraid that he prefers another girl over you," said Siko, to which Saya just opened her eyes wide and then smiled sadly. "You know I like Takashi, but when I saw him kiss Rei 2 days ago, my chest hurt, but not that much because for a long time, more exactly a day after arriving at Rizen's apartment, I began to pay attention to Naruto. Over time, the little time we spent together as a group, I realized that I had slowly fallen in love with him, because he was kind, gentle. But at the same time he took important things seriously, and was not guided by his impulses but thought and planned quickly. He also protected us even at the cost of his life. That made me fall completely in love with him. But when I saw him kiss my mother, my chest hurt even more than when I saw Takashi and Rei kiss. I felt like a sword pierced me and then my heart exploded into 1,000 pieces. That's why I ran away, and then my mother came to talk to me. I only listened a little and then I couldn't hold it, and I slapped her. I did it out of fury that I felt towards her for taking away the boy I fell in love with. Saya said the last thing, preparing her fists, but then she relaxed. I see, the truth is I already imagined it, because you are not one of those who run away like that without any reason, said Siko, approaching Saya and then bending down and putting a hand on Saya's shoulder. However, I think you should not have hit her mother. Imagine the pain she felt when you hit her, not the physical pain, but the emotional one. She loves you very much because of how she hugged you when you reunited when they crossed the wire mesh that day. Imagine the emotional pain she felt. Seeing you angry, upset with her and crying, that in addition to the fact that you hit her, said Siko, which made Saya lower her head in regret. I know, it was wrong, but I couldn't help myself. I think I should apologize to her, said Saya, shedding some tears for what Siko said, because she never thought about the pain she would cause her mother with her words. Okay, now what do you say we go back? You take a hot bath and then talk to your mother? Asked Siko with a smile, to which Saya nodded. Okay, thank you, said Saya, and then both stood up and Saya hugged Siko. Then both returned to the mansion where Saya, after taking a bath, apologized to her mother, who simply hugged her daughter with love. Later that day, it was night and Naruto was reviewing some papers about a report from a squad that he sent outside the wall to clean up a path that would lead the survivors who would arrive from the United States. The report said that they had managed to make a path of about 2 kilometers. However, they still had about 10 kilometers to go to reach the airport, which, according to the radio channels, would already be unoccupied because they had evacuated all the people possible from the city. He also read another one where Takashi and some survivors had successfully managed to bring 4 trucks full of dirt from a forest, which meant that the land was fertile. When they brought them, they quickly unloaded them in the area where the crops would go. The road is going slow and I can't even send a clone, because tomorrow is when I'll try that harvesting, Naruto said to himself with a frown. Naruto-kun will go to sleep, it's late, said Konan's voice from outside the office. Of course, Konan-chan, rest, I'll leave in a few moments. I'll just finish reading some reports, said Naruto. Okay, but don't stay up too late, said Konan before leaving. Well, let's continue, said Naruto, reviewing more papers, among which were reports on water and food reserves. Water was no longer a problem, but food was becoming scarce. There were also reports about the sentries on the walls. They had reported flying creatures, which simply confirmed that what the survivors who arrived recently had said was true. And now he was grateful to have put that metal mesh as a roof that covered all the land that was inside the walls. Naruto stood up and looked out the window at the sky, because he had to figure out how to keep these people safe, and the fact is that there were almost 70 people under his care. The sky looks very calm today, Naruto said to himself, looking at the starry sky. A few minutes passed before something strange happened, because from one moment to another the sky rippled and a black portal opened right in the middle of the moon. That's it, said Naruto, then ran off, and upon leaving the mansion he activated his Azura mode and ran towards the doors in the walls. Upon exiting the door in the walls he took flight towards the portal that opened. Yes, it is what I think it is, he said to himself before hurrying. When he was about to arrive he saw something come out of the portal. Something white was falling. Instantly Naruto accelerated even more and managed to barely, very barely, catch the white object before it fell to the ground. Upon gaining elevation he saw what he caught, and was surprised to see what she was holding in her hands. How is it possible? He asked himself when he saw the woman holding which. She opened her eyes a little. Help me, she said before fainting. Naruto, hearing the tone of her voice, finally realized the woman's condition. Her kimono was somewhat destroyed and stained, she had some wounds on her body, and her face was covered with some dirt. What happened to make him end up like this? Naruto wondered before shaking his head. Boy, is that it? Asked Kurama's voice in Naruto's head. Yes, Kurama, it's Kagaya, Naruto said seriously. It's true, it's that damn thing, but what's she doing here? Are you against being sealed? Said Matatabi as she also saw Kagaya's body through Naruto's eyes. I don't know, but he feels her chakra. Now he feels less evil, said Naruto, to which the Bijus felt the woman's chakra. When they did, they saw that it was true. The woman's chakra now felt calmer and less, much less evil. Boy, take her to the base. We have to treat her wounds. But keep an eye on her, and when she wakes up ask her why she is in that state, said Gyuki, this time being Kurama and Matatabi the ones who woke up when Naruto entered Ajura mode. Okay, that's what I'll do. I'm intrigued as to how she ended up in this state, said Naruto, seeing the draining state. Then without further ado he began to fly directly to the base, and upon arrival he entered through the doors and then took her to the mansion wherein another, and went to her room to leave the woman in bed. Chapter 8, Termianda Base. Come on, watch your right. Several men were walking down a street in a group. Up on the fire stairs, everyone turned to the fire stairs where they could see two smokers who launched their tongues at the group. The tongues caught two men. Hey, help! They both shouted as they were grabbed. Cut them off quickly. After the man's words, two men took out two machetes and managed to cut off the tongues before their companions were pulled away. Shoot! Shouted Naruto's voice. At the command of his voice, 4 men aimed at a zombie and another 4 at the other of the 2 mutant zombies. Tried to predict where they will move. One points at their location, another points 2 meters above. In the same way 2 others aimed to the left and right, also 2 meters, said the clone, to which the 8 men nodded and fired where they were indicated. This caused the smokers to have no escape, because the first one tried to jump to the right and was shot down by a shot. Like the second mutant, who also tried to jump but upwards, but was also stopped by a bullet. Now aim at them and fire, said Naruto, to which now the 8 aimed at the 2 smokers, which although they were resistant, the 16 bullets that hit each one made them fall dead despite their resistance, and even more when the bullets hit the heads of both. Eliminated, sir, said one of those who had shot. Excellent. Let's continue. When we're done we'll go home and prepare everything for arrival, said Naruto, to which his men nodded. This is Squad 5, we're 1 kilometer away from reaching the airport. The entire road has been cleared and walled off, said Naruto, who was in fact a clone. He reported through a radio he had in his ear. Then he walked to a side street and made hand seals. Earth-style great earth wall, exclaimed the clone, and raised a wall about 12 meters high. When he finished he stood up and looked in the direction they came from. When he turned around he saw a path of perfectly aligned earth walls that stretched for more than 4 kilometers. Sir? A man asked Naruto when he saw him looking at the path. It's nothing, let's keep moving forward, since it seems they've also finished on the other side, said Naruto, as he saw another wall of rocks rise a couple of blocks away. A few streets away from the clone group. We're almost done, said a man. Yes, thanks to this guy, we were finally able to defend ourselves and expand our safe base further, and thanks to him, none of the group has died, said another man who was next to the one who had spoken. Yes, I remember when I went out to look for supplies a couple of days before he arrived, we lost half of the group, and the worst of all is that we couldn't get supplies, said the first man, although he remained alert, watching the events, alleys, and from time to time his back. I know, I had withdrawn from the search groups for the same reason, and besides, having a wife and daughter, I didn't want to leave them alone, said the second man, also being just as alert as his partner. Get ready, it seems that the noise of the walls rising has caught the attention of more zombies, said Naruto, to which everyone gathered and made a circle covering each other. Contact, at 3, said a man, and then started shooting at a large order of zombies, easily a dozen. Contact at 10, another man shouted, somewhat alarmed because he saw 24 or more zombies in that direction. Cover the position of the 3. I will take care of the horde of the 10, said Naruto, this also being another clone. Okay, "Come with Dad," said the clone, smiling, and then extended his hands, and these were surrounded by a whitish aura that resembled a sword. So Naruto threw himself against the zombies in what could be described as a massacre or a carnage, because Naruto with great skill cut off the limbs of the zombies and beheaded them. Not even 5 minutes passed when Naruto had already finished with almost 30 zombies. Seeing that there were none left, he returned to regroup with the group in his charge. Seeing them, he saw that they were already finishing off the last zombies that came to them. "Check that everyone is dead. Use any of the swords or stakes you brought with you and stick them in their heads," said a man, to which everyone else nodded and began to make sure that the zombies were dead. After about 3 minutes, in which while the men made sure that they had finished off those things, Naruto, or rather the clone, took the opportunity to create the wall, one similar to the one he had made streets back. Time skip, 3 hours later. The road was difficult because they hadn't even gone 5 blocks when they ran into more zombies again. But in the end, and although it seems incredible, they all managed to reach the airport without receiving a single casualty. Also on the way, he realized that there were no longer officers in the city, because the bridge in which he had helped protect the people who were manipulated by the worker, that bridge was now empty and without blockades. This made him suppose that at last the military had managed to get most of the people out of the city and took them to a safe place. This in turn was good for a plan that he already had in mind. But leaving those issues for later, now the 2 clones had finished building the path followed from the airport to the Takagi mansion. "Well done, guys, it took us a while, but we finally have a safe path to receive the survivors who arrived," said one of the clones. "Now let's go back home. Let's take the cars we found on the way to return, since it would be exhausting to walk back," said the other clone. The men nodded in a good way because they didn't want to return on foot either. "Yes, sir, you heard it. Get the cars ready, get your asses in them, and let's go," said a man who apparently had the highest rank after the clones. So the other men started to get into the cars, and once everyone was on board, they left for the safe zone. "Well, we've finished everything here. Now to disappear," said the first clone, which the second nodded, and so both disappeared in a cloud of smoke. In the safe zone. Naruto was in his room staring at the woman who was still sleeping in his bed, since he sent his clones on a mission to create a safe path for the foreign survivors. As soon as he sent them, he returned to the room to continue watching and waiting for the woman to wake up, this being none other than Kaguya. For Naruto, it was strange how the woman who almost managed to kill Team 7, Mikoto, Konan and him, had ended up in such a state with respect to her injuries. As he remembered, they had sealed her without doing any harm to her. So what happened? Why did she appear in that dimension out of nowhere and very injured? And what is worse, why, if in case she recognized him, why did she ask him to help her? Those questions could not stop running through his mind and had kept him awake all night. It still seems strange to me that she appeared so hurt. I don't remember that we left her so hurt. Besides, if she managed to recognize me, why did she ask for my help? He asked himself once more. Naruto, stop going around in circles on the matter. Although I'm also intrigued, asking yourself the same thing over and over again won't clear up your doubts. It's better to wait for Kaguya to wake up and then you can find out. But be careful, we don't know what she's up to," said Kurama inside Naruto. At this moment, Kurama was the only one who was deserted, since he and Matatabi had agreed not to tell the others anything, at least not yet. MMMNNGGG. Some moans of annoyance caught Naruto's attention towards the bed. As he turned his gaze towards it, he saw how Kaguya was slowly waking up. Where am I?" Kaguya asked herself, looking around before focusing her sight on the only person in the room. "It's you, then don't know all that really happened," Kaguya said to herself with some anger and clenching her fists. This alarmed Naruto a little, but when he saw the woman's eyes he noticed rage and anger, but not directed towards him. No, it was towards someone else. "Are you okay?" Naruto asked gently because he could see that the woman was not in a good mood. "Yes, I am. By the way, where are we? Is it one of those villages where you humans live?" Kaguya asked, relaxing a little. "I would like that, But unfortunately not. We are in another dimension outside the elemental nations. You should remember that, after all, you opened a portal that absorbed us and made us end up here," said Naruto, causing the woman to open her eyes in surprise. "Me? I don't remember. Did I send you to this dimension?" Kagaya asked with a hand on her head as if trying to remember. Naruto noticed this, and it made him stranger. "Yes, before we sealed you again, you created a portal behind me and 2 friends tried to save me, but we ended up being absorbed all 3, said Naruto. "I really don't remember, but if it helps, I apologize for that, sincerely." "I'm sorry," said Kagaya, slightly lowering her head. "Okay, now this was really scaring, or, rather, intriguing Naruto too much, because thanks to Kurama, he could feel that Kagaya wasn't lying. "Tell me what happened to you. When I found you, you were covered in wounds, and as I recall, you weren't that hurt when we sealed you. What happened after we sealed you?" Naruto asked. "I don't remember much. I only remember a man, another Otsutsuki. He said his name was Tonari and that my power would help him carry out his plans. That in my eyes, of course, I got upset at being considered only an object for that man. I faced him, but Zetsu betrayed me, and when he detached himself from me, he took half of my power. Then they both did a jutsu, and I don't remember anything else after that. I only remember that I felt very weak, and in my desperation I opened a portal and threw myself into it. After that I only remember seeing your face and falling unconscious," Kagaya said, surprising and generating intrigue in Naruto since he also could not perceive feelings of lies in Kagaya. "Wow, it must have been hard for you to know that one of your children betrayed you again," said Naruto, although the last bit was a bit awkward. "I guess that's my punishment, never deserving anyone's love and only being betrayed and used," said Kagaya with her gaze downcast. "The truth is I don't think so, because we all deserve to be happy in life. We can all be happy, it's just a matter of finding the right person," said Naruto, putting his hand on Kagaya's. She looked up, and when she saw his face she saw how he smiled at her gently. However, the atmosphere was broken when someone knocked on the door. "Naruto-kun, the group is back and we are ready to start making the tunnels of the underground base," said Mikoto from behind the door. "I'm coming," said Naruto, looking at the door, which opened seconds later. "Hey, by the way, they gave me this report that indicates that there are supplies in," and she couldn't continue speaking when she saw the woman next to Naruto. Mikoto took a few seconds to react, and she didn't do it in a good way because she put herself in a defensive combat stance. "Mikoto-kan, calm down, let me explain. She doesn't present any danger," said Naruto, to which Mikoto, although not very sure, nodded and relaxed. "Well, what is she doing here?" "She was supposed to be sealed," said Mikoto, looking at Kagaya. "Well, to sum it up in a few words, Zetsu betrayed Kagaya and joined a man named Tonari Otsutsuki. Both used a jutsu against him which apparently erased his memory of what happened in the war and apparently made it, how to say it, so to speak, made it good," said Naruto simply. "And how are you sure he's not lying?" Mikoto asked. "You know that I can feel people's emotions and know if they are lying to me or not. Also, another thing that assures me is that she apologized for what she did to us despite not remembering it," said Naruto, which surprised Mikoto. "So you are one of the 2 affected by the portal that brought them here. I regret causing you to end up in this world, and for what I did to you in the past," said Kagaya, bowing her head. This made it clear to Mikoto that what Naruto said was true. Apparently Kagaya in a few words had become good. "Now I see what you meant, Naruto-kun, and don't worry, Kaguya-san, I accept your apology, although you really don't have to give it since you don't remember," said Mikoto with a small smile and dismissing the apology, although still accepting it. "So, were you saying something about a report?" Naruto asked Mikoto, who seemed to remember what she had come to when she entered. "Oh, right, the report about some supplies they found about 5 blocks outside the east wall," said Mikoto, handing the reports to Naruto, who read them. "So 2 more survivors arrived than just fleeing from the zombies," said Naruto, to which Mikoto nodded, but Kagaya was intrigued by the survivors. "Survivors, what do you mean?" Kagaya asked, intrigued. Well, you see, it seems that this dimension is in a kind of crisis where humanity is about to become extinct since there are infected and already dead people that if they bite other people they also die and become zombies, which is what they were called. And the converted ones begin to try to devour living people, and not only people but also animals and all living beings. Naruto said seriously. Now all the survivors of the cities gather or try to reach the safe zones to survive, he said, and then looked at the window. Now we are in one of them, and as far as I know, the only one in the city. In this safe base there are currently almost 100 survivors, he said again. How big was the population? Kagaya asked, intrigued at the number of people in the safe zone. According to one of the survivors, there were almost 32 million people in this city, said Mikoto, which surprised Kagaya that, of 32 million, only less than 100 remained, or well, for the moment only those were known. Although the military forces of this place were in charge of getting quite a few people out, I don't know exactly how many people managed to get out, but there were quite a few. The ones I managed to see once I was close were like 300 or 400 people, said Naruto. But even so, the three of them knew that they were very few people compared to the total number of them. Well, Mikoto-can, take Kagaya to the dining room so she can have some breakfast. I'll take care of preparing a team to collect those supplies, said Naruto, to which Mikoto nodded. Can you get up, Kaguya-san? Mikoto asked, to which the aforementioned nodded. Yes, I'm fine now, I can get up, said Kagaya before starting to get out of bed. Okay, I'll see you later. By the way, if Konan asks about Kagaya, send her to the office and I'll explain, said Naruto, and then let out a sigh. I still have to train my Rinnegan to be able to create a portal to our dimension. It's the only way I see to save these people. Or if we want to stay here, at least try to bring help to try to finish off the zombies and thus free this world of zombies, said Naruto, getting Kagaya's attention. Do you have the Rinnegan? Kagaya asked curiously. Yes, but I don't know how to use it yet. I must train to be able to use it very well. Your son Hagoromo gave it to me as compensation for having ended the war and having ended up here. He also gave me the Onmyoton element. But I must also train it since I have not used it, he said, to which Kagaya smiled slightly at the idea that came to her head. I could help you if you want, even though I don't remember anything that happened before being released by Zetsu. I still remember how to use the Rinnegan's abilities, or in my case the Rinne Sharingan. I also know how to use the Onmyoton element, so if you want I could help you master them, said Kagaya, which Naruto suspended and was happy about. Really? That would really help me, thanks, said Naruto with a smile. Well, Kaguya-san, let's go get something to eat, said Mikoto, to which Kagaya nodded, and slowly they both left the room. Then Naruto looked out the window at the sky for a few seconds, and then he also left the room and went to the office that previously belonged to Soichiro and now belonged to him. Time skip. Naruto had organized a recovery team to go for the supplies that were in a building 5 blocks from the east wall. It was a group of 16 people, Takashi as leader, Iori and Shin, plus 13 more men. This had been decided by Naruto so that they learned to take care of themselves and not depend only on him, although of course he would not leave them alone either, since he sent a clone to protect them from the shadows without them noticing. But now, returning to Naruto, he was on his way to the courtyard of the mansion. As expected, Konan had run into Kagaya, and it did not turn out to be the best of experiences according to Mikoto, since Konan almost attacked Kagaya. But Mikoto intervened and told Konan to go with Naruto to explain to her, which he did, and Naruto explained everything to her, and fortunately Konan understood the situation. Is everything ready to start? Naruto asked Mikoto, who was on his right while Yuriko was on his left. A couple of steps behind were Konan and Siko. Yes, the area is already clear and everyone has been removed to a safe distance. Everything is ready to begin the underground base operation, Mikoto answered, to which Naruto's felt. The only thing we need is for someone to turn on the power inside the underground base, said Konan. Among the survivors there must be someone who knows how to do it, or who has an idea of how, said Naruto, about to leave. We also need an electric generator and a way to get water underneath to the base as well, said Yuriko. We can use lightning, if we just find a way to make the power or voltage regulate. We could be using our lightning techniques to supply ourselves with electricity, said Makoto as they left the house. For now, let's focus on the main thing, creating the base, and then we'll go into details, said Naruto, because, although he knew that the electrical concepts and water and drainage pipes were important, there were things that could be left for after the foundations of the underground base had been created. Since the ground was made of earth, they could easily dig to put the pipes. Okay, we'll wait here at a safe distance and watch out for anything, said Makoto, to which Nada nodded, and he continued walking towards a large clear area. It's time to start, Naruto said to himself, standing in the center of a 20 square meter area. Shikaku, Koko, son, any technique that can do this? Naruto asked his companions, who were now all awake since Naruto woke them up after dispatching the recovery group. There is one. If you just want to sink the Earth-style rock sinking would be very useful, since you only have to put your hand on the ground and send chakra according to the depth and size of the area you want to sink, answered Sun. True, that jutsu was used a lot in Suna to search for water springs, said Shikaku, remembering the times Gaara and his brothers used that technique to search for water during their missions in Suna. In Iowa they used them more to create traps around their village in case of a surprise attack, said Koko, remembering how they almost fell twice in one when he left the village because of the hatred they had for his Jinchuriki. Well, Naruto, there it is. They will send you the hand seals and I will provide you with the chakra so that you do not become exhausted, since there are still enough things to do for you to take a nap, said Kurama, although the last part was a joke. Ha ha ha, very funny, Kurama. But still, thanks for helping me, guys, said Naruto, smiling half. Although, now let's do it, said Naruto, focused on the ground while Koko passed the hand seals to Naruto and he copied them. Here I go. Earth-style rock sinking, Naruto exclaimed, and positioning his hand on the ground, the entire area of 20 meters began to sink. Little by little the visibility became zero. Because the further he went down, the darker it got, because the light didn't reach that deep. After about 10 minutes of going down, Naruto stopped and looked up. He only saw a white dot no bigger than his hand. I think it was too deep. But since he said before starting to walk towards the walls and then starting to climb using the chakra to adhere to the wall, when he got outside he took a deep breath. 250 meters deep. I think it's enough for everything we want to, he said to himself, watching as everyone approached. Well? Asked Yuriko. 250 meters deep. We still need to make the tunnels and large bedrooms that will be used as rooms, but at least the entrance is already there. We just need a way for everyone to go up and down without problems, said Naruto, taking a thoughtful pose. Wait, you said 250 meters? Ray asked, in disbelief. Yes, that's what I said, Naruto answered, but now seeing how the face of the majority was of astonishment, everyone react. We do not have time for questions or explanations of my abilities. The new refugees arrive tomorrow and we must have at least 10 underground rooms that can fit at least 10 people. So let's work, while you guys think of a way for them to go up and down easily. Makoto-kan, Kananchan and I will go to continue expanding the underground base, Naruto said, to which everyone nodded. Rikishin, take one of my clones and talk to the President of the United States. Tell him that he can send his refugees, since, as I remember, you told me that a flight from there to here lasts a whole day, Naruto said, to which Rika nodded. Well then, report that, and then tell me if they intercepted more radio signals, Naruto said as he created a clone, and finally Rika nodded. Okay, I'll go right away, said Rika, and then started walking towards where they had set up a radio station. While she was followed by the clone, they both walked until they reached the communications center. When they arrived and opened the door, they noticed that there were 2 more people there, and Amara was also there. Contact me internationally on Channel 2, said Rika to a man and a woman who were also there. Right away, contacting internationally on Channel 2, said the man, moving some buttons and turning a kind of small knob to configure the radio channel. The static began to sound while they tried to communicate. After a few seconds, the voice of a woman was heard. White House secure base here. Identify yourself, said the female voice in English. so only Hitomi and Naruto didn't understand. This is Tokyo Secure Base. This is Rika Minami speaking, and next to me is the base leader Naruto Uzumaki. Rika answered in English. The woman was surprised when she heard the two names, but fortunately she reacted instantly. Wait a moment, I'll go tell my superior, said the woman before nothing was heard. 1 minute later it was heard again. Yes, this is Harold, the president's translator. It's a pleasure to hear from you again, Miss Minami and Mr. Uzumaki, said Harold through the radio. The pleasure is our Lord, Harold answered Rika. What do we owe your contact with us to? Harold asked somewhat curiously. I contacted you to let you know that you can now send your survivors. We have already cleared an area through which you can safely reach the base from the airport, said Rika, obviously still in English. That is excellent news. I will inform the president of this, and we will send our refugees there. However, I must say that we have received more survivors, and we want you to allow us to also send those who have arrived, because we will not last long here due to the bandits, said Harold seriously. Rika translated this to Naruto, and he just took a serious pose. Ask how many survivors there would be, said Naruto after Rika told me what Harold commented. Mr. Harold, Naruto wants to know how many survivors they would send, said Rika. We still don't have the exact amount, but it would be more than 40, Harold answered, surprising those present in the communications room since there were double the number that were originally going to arrive. Of course, allowing us to send these survivors is not very fair to you since they would be costing more resources. But in exchange for receiving them, we would send you resources to reinforce your base, such as metal plates that I think you previously said you needed. We would also send some electrical engineers in case you need them, said Harold, which was a very tempting offer since Naruto knew the needs of his base, and he couldn't refuse an offer like that. Very well, that being the case, you have permission to send your survivors, said Naruto, to which Rika translated it. Perfect, we will send them right now. They will arrive tomorrow afternoon in Tokyo. Once again I thank you for your help, Mr. Uzumaki, said Harold in a sincere tone of voice. Very well, we will be in touch. Also, if you have problems, contact us, and we will help you, said Rika before the transmission was cut. Are you sure about this? Asked Rika, looking at Naruto. Yes, to create the underground base, or rather to have it ready, we just need to put a resistant material inside so that it doesn't collapse. We will also need people who know how to put electric current to illuminate there below, and if they send someone who knows, I will definitely take that offer, said Naruto, looking at Rika, who let out a sigh. But the food supplies are not infinite. Although we have several supplies, remember that we are almost 100 people in this base, and the food decreases quickly, said Rika after letting out a sigh. I know, but I think I may have the solution to that problem, Naruto dojo with a smile. I don't doubt that, since you solved the problem with drinking water, which we now know we won't lack. But what really bothers me now is that I'll have to act as a translator for you all day when those survivors arrive, said Rika, but the last part in a tired tone, and at the end she let out a sigh. Or you could teach me to speak that language. I don't think it would be that difficult to learn, said Naruto, not knowing what he was facing. Believe me, it's not that easy. It took me almost 5 years to learn that language, said Rika, although she didn't mind the idea of teaching Naruto. I mean, after all, that would entail spending more time alone with him. Come on, I don't think it's that difficult. Besides, I can reduce the amount of clones I use to train my techniques, and instead use them to learn that language, said Naruto confidently. If you say so, then we'll see, said Rika with a confident smile. Okay, I'll go see how Alice's father is, and I also have to see Kaguya first to ask her something, said Naruto, intriguing Rika. Although those present were listening to everything, but they tried to pretend they didn't hear anything. Kaguya? Asked Rika, intrigued. Oh yes, Kaguya is the woman who sent us to this place from my world, but she was betrayed by her son and her memory of the war was erased, and well, you could say that now she is good, said Naru simply. Well, I'm going. See you later to start with the classes of that other language, said Naruto, and then left the room and left the 4 people alone in the communications room. United States. Safe Zone Base, White House, 1 o'clock p.m. Okay, Mr. Leon, Miss Wang, you have your mission. You must escort 3 survivors to the airport where they will board a plane that we have already prepared to leave for Tokyo, Japan. They will also transport the metal loads. Once they arrive, the survivors will board the plane and you will do so too, Miss Wang. As for the men, you will act as escort, and you, Mr. Leon, you will return after the plane has taken off, said a man who was in charge of all the militia in the safe zone, well, after the president, since he was the commander-in-chief. Understood, General Fury, said Leon to the man in front of him, who was a black man. He was wearing a black trench coat, black military pants along with black military boots, and a black jacket under the trench coat. But the most peculiar thing was that he had an eye patch on his left eye. Okay, go now, said Fury. But then he remembered something. By the way, Miss Romanoff will also be coming with you, Miss Wang, said Fury, and then a red-haired woman wearing a tight-fitting combat suit approached the pair who would leave for their mission. A pleasure, Natasha Romanoff. I am a special agent, but don't worry, my role in this will be to act as a translator and intermediary to avoid problems in that area where we will go, said the now-known Natasha, who extended her hand to greet Ada Wang. She of course reciprocated the gesture, as did Leon. Okay, there's nothing else to say, now go. You should be in Tokyo tomorrow afternoon, said Fury, and then the 3 people nodded and left the room. Okay, we have orders. Let's group all the survivors who just arrived and let's get going, said Leon, to which the 2 women nodded, and so the group left to gather the survivors. 15 minutes later. Okay, listen to me. You are the survivors who will be sent to a secure base like this one, located in Tokyo, Japan. You will follow the orders of Miss Wang and Miss Romanoff. They will be in charge of you at that base. In the same way, you will also be under the orders of the leader of that base. Here, Miss Romanoff knows how to speak Japanese, so she will be the translator. Although at that base, there is also someone who speaks English, so there won't be any problems understanding each other, said Leon, although he could see the displeasure in several people. But he didn't know if it was because they would have to obey someone they didn't know yet, or because they would be leaving their country. Okay, let's go. Gather your belongings and board the trucks, and don't worry, there you will be given everything you need, a shelter, blanket, water, food, all the essentials. Ladies, said Natasha as the people got on the trucks. 63 people. I hope and it won't be a problem to carry so many, Natasha thought, letting out a sigh. Miss Romanoff, time to go, Ada said, climbing in through the passenger door. I'm going, said Natasha, and then she also got into the truck through the same door, leaving Ada in the center and Natasha on the left. Hi, I'm Ellis. Nice to meet you, said the boy who would be driving the road and was, for obvious reasons, in the driver's seat. Are you one of the refugees who will also go to Tokyo? Ada asked, to which Ellis nodded. That's right, my teammates Rochelle, Coach and Nick, and I are part of those who will go to the base in Japan, Ellis answered, and then the horn of one of the trucks was heard. Okay, time to go, he said, and then started driving. Because the truck they were in was the one that had the metal plates, they left the base in a caravan heading to the airport where a plane was already waiting for them that would take them to Japan. The road was particularly quiet, just a few zombies arriving due to the noise of the engines, but nothing that some M4s with silencers couldn't fix. Upon arriving at the airport, they looked for the hangar where the plane would be. It didn't take long to find it. Once they found it, they began to load it. They loaded the truck with the metal plates, and the survivors boarded by a ladder. Very well, get on the plane. We will leave when everyone has boarded and the material has been secured, said Leon while making signs for them to move forward since there was a line to board the plane. Sir, why are they carrying all that metal too? Asked one of the survivors in the line. You could say it's your ticket to the Tokyo base, Leon replied, clearing up the doubt a little, but not completely. A few meters further away, in the last truck, the survivors were getting off the truck. Natasha was guiding them. Natasha? A male voice made the redhead turn to see the person who had gotten off the truck. Captain? Natasha asked, intrigued when she saw the man. Natasha, it's nice to see you again, said the man, none other than Steve. I'd say a lot, almost 2 years, but I'm really glad to see you survive this epidemic, said Natasha. Yes, it was difficult, after having lost them. Besides, he took refuge alone with his family, although I don't blame him, because if I were him I would have done the same. But well, leaving that aside, look who also survived, said Steve when he saw that a blonde woman also got off the truck. Carol? Natasha asked, to which the woman looked at her confused. Do I know you? The woman named Carol asked, intrigued. Of course, it's me, Natasha, or Black Windows, said Natasha, a little confused. Carol, help that family, can you? It seems they have problems with their children, said Steve, to which Carol nodded and left. You see, Natasha, Carol hit the earth one day. We don't know what happened to her, but she fell from the sky with great force. Nick and Ciendo found her. After a couple of weeks she woke up, and when we tried to talk to her we were surprised that she didn't even know her name or who she was. Apparently that fall erased her memory, said Steve, which surprised Natasha. So you're passed as Miss Marvel? Natasha asked. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't even know about his powers, or at least he'll remember how to use them. But we know he still has them since the gamma meters detect them, said Steve, watching as Carol helped a woman carry 2 small babies to the plane. That was a couple of months after we all separated, said Steve, after letting out a sigh. So you've been living like a normal person for over a year? Natasha asked, to which Steve nodded. I see. By the way, have you heard from Bruce? Natasha asked Steve. The last thing I heard was that he was trying to find a cure for this epidemic based on his blood, and that was a month ago. After that I only knew that he took a flight. But I don't know where, said Steve, which made Natasha open her eyes. With his blood? Don't tell me that. Natasha left the sentence hanging in the air. That's right. Apparently it didn't go so well, and that caused evolutionary mutations in the infected, said Steve. Well, I'll keep moving forward. Now we're the only ones left, said Steve to Natasha, who realized that now they were the only ones left to go up. Yes, let's go, said Natasha, running next to Steve towards the plane. Bruce, what have you done? You and your damn experiments, Natasha thought with annoyance. When they both arrived at the plane, they boarded. Once up, the plane began to move forward and then take off towards Japan. Back at the safe base that Naruto ran. He was now in his office resting, because a few minutes ago they had finished creating some tunnels that Darien forms to the underground base. They had managed to create 5 corridors that led to an underground ring and ended in 3 more tunnels. In Naruto's office, Naruto was currently sitting on the chair behind the desk. Next to him was Yuriko, reviewing some papers instead of Naruto since he was exhausted. Are you sure you feel okay to be here? Yuriko asked Naruto, who had his head leaning back. Yeah, I just need to rest a little and I'll be fine, said Naruto with his eyes closed. Well, it doesn't seem like it to me. Besides, Mikitosen and Konanzan ended up exhausted and went to their rooms to sleep a little. You should have gone too, said Yuriko, passing a paper and taking another. I'm fine, although thanks for worrying, said Naruto, recovering and opening his eyes. But before Yuriko spoke again, the door was heard being knocked on. Come in, said Naruto, and then Rika entered through the door. Naruto-kun, the United States has already sent the survivors. They will arrive tomorrow afternoon, said Rika, entering the room. Okay, tomorrow morning I will organize a couple of groups to also act as escort. As I understand, it will be more than 40 people, so I will have to get some vehicles to speed up the mobilization, said Naruto, taking some papers and starting to read them, but with some tiredness. It seems that what happened a few moments ago was hard for you, said Rika, walking towards Naruto. A little, but I have to finish this before I leave, said Naruto, pointing to a pile of papers. I see, that's why Uramosen is here too. Fine, then I'll help you too. and this way you can go rest soon, said Rika before taking a chair and sitting on the other side of Naruto, just the opposite side of Yuriko. You know, right now I would be the envy of every man, said Naruto with amusement. What do you mean? Yuriko asked as she and Rika looked at him. Well, I'm alone in a room with two very beautiful and naughty women, said Naruto, which made the two women blush. Shut up and let's get to work, said Rika, blushing slightly. If it's true, the faster we finish the better, said Yuriko in the same way. Okay, said Naruto, smiling for achieving his goal. I just hope the new survivors aren't more of a nuisance, or are the ones who want things the easy way, because if so, it hurts them. Because here everyone works or does something to help, Naruto thought with a smile, already imagining what he would do against the survivors who can do something and instead just dedicate themselves to slacking off. Chapter 9: You Can't Survive Without Work. Naruto and some men were near an airplane hangar at the city's airport. According to the White House report from the day before, the survivors who would travel to the safe zone of the city where Naruto was would arrive at dawn, and that is why Naruto and some men with a couple of trucks had arrived early at the airport to receive the survivors. Although despite having cleaned the area and created a safe route to transport those who would arrive, the men accompanying Naruto brought weapons, because one never knows if they would arrive with hostile intentions or not. But it was better to be sure. In total, counting Naruto, there were about 10 men, 9 armed since Naruto did not require those weapons, although 3 of those 10 had gone to the control tower to give instructions to the plane that would land a few kilometers east of the airport. The plane carrying the survivors was beginning to descend. It was about 200 kilometers away from the airport and at an altitude of about 10 kilometers, so it began to slow down. Dear passengers, we are beginning the landing phase. Please stay in your seats and fasten your seatbelts, said the voice of the captain who was driving. You heard, sit down and fasten your seatbelts. When you arrive, behave. We don't want to cause problems or give a bad image of us, and remember, we are not in charge here. Here we will be one more survivor who will follow someone else's orders as if he were the president, said Ada to the survivors, more exactly to the youngest ones, that is, boys and girls between 17 and 21 years old. The most rebellious age for everyone. The kids just nodded seriously, but being young, it's as if they had been told to do the opposite, or as if it had entered one ear and come out the other. Ada, we are about to land. Let's sit down, said Natasha, to which Ada nodded, and so she walked towards the front of the plane following Natasha. I don't know, but just seeing them from this point makes me a little hot, said one of the young men, looking at the backsides of the two women. I know, but we have to wait. Do you remember the plan, right? Asked another of the young men, this one with blonde hair. Yes, we remember, but we must wait a few weeks to gain trust and prevent them from distrusting us. That, and we must see how armed they are at that base, said another young man. Personally, I want to see how many beautiful women there are there, and how good they are, said another young man with an evil and perverted smile that was also shared by 12 other young men who were the only ones who heard it and were part of this plan. In the cabin. This is American Flight 2215, clearing you for landing, said the pilot's voice upon contacting the control tower channel. This is Control Tower, American Flight 2215, you have permission to land. Head to the main landing strip. A group is already waiting for you along with the base leader. We will transport you safely to the secure base, said the voice of one of the survivors who had gone to the control tower to give instructions to the pilot of the plane that would arrive. Understood, Control Tower, short and out, said the pilot before beginning to maneuver to land on the main runway. Those in the control tower began to descend when the pilot cut the communication. They headed towards where the rest of the group that would escort the new arrivals were. The plane had just landed and everyone in the group that would escort the new arrivals had gathered right where the plane stopped, because those from the control tower arrived on a type of cart that had a ladder for them to get off. When the plane stopped, they placed the cart with the ladder right at the door of the plane, only for it to open, and the first to get off were Ada and Natasha. Behind them got off two men who apparently were a security group, who began to give instructions to the passengers of the plane to form in 6 rows with their little luggage and family. Ada and Natasha, seeing a group of men and a woman with 6 vehicles behind them, of which 4 were buses, began to approach them. Naruto and Rika also began to approach. Both duos stopped at a point in the middle. Miss Romanoff? Miss Ada? Rika asked in English to the 2 women, who nodded when they heard her name, so they knew which was which. Nice to meet you. My name is Rika Minami, and this boy to my right is Uzumaki Naruto, the leader of the base where we will take you, said Rika, which surprised both American women a little, since they estimated that the boy was no older than 20 years old. A pleasure to meet you. My name is Ada Wong, and this is my partner Natasha Romanoff, said Ada, extending her hand to Rika, who responded to the gesture equally while translating to Naruto. The pleasure is ours, said Rika, as Naruto also greeted the 2 girls. We appreciate your hospitality, and in compensation for that our government sent some material resources to help strengthen your base even more, said Natasha in Japanese, which surprised Naruto and Rika a little. Do you speak Japanese? Rika asked, to which Natasha just nodded. That's right. If you like, we could have this conversation in your language for your convenience, or in ours, whichever suits you best, or we can alternate between the 2 from time to time, said Natasha, to which Rika looked at Naruto, who nodded. Don't worry, it would be best to speak in your language, although if you want him to answer you something, it will have to be in our language, said Rika, to which the 2 women nodded in understanding. Very well. Now, regarding the materials that our government sent, a cargo truck will be needed to carry it since it is very heavy, said Ada, to which, although a little strange, Rika understood it and got an idea of what it would be. Rika translated it to Naruto and he nodded. Okay, I'll send for a cargo truck right now, said Naruto, before pointing at a couple of men who were from the group that would escort the American survivors. Both men approached quickly. Yes, sir, what's wrong? Asked the first man. I need you to find a cargo truck to transport heavy material, Naruto said to the 2 men. They just looked at each other, and this intrigued Naruto. What's going on? Naruto asked. You see, sir, the truth is that none of us in the group know how to confuse one of those trucks, said the second man with some sadness. Well, what can I do? I'll just carry them in a sealing scroll, Naruto said, intriguing Natasha, who for obvious reasons understood what he said. We are very sorry we couldn't help, sir, said the first man in apology. Don't worry, it's not your fault. Anyway, not even I know how to drive a normal car, unlike you who do. It's like I said the first day I arrived, no one can survive on their own. We all depend on each other to survive, said Naruto, to which the man became more encouraged. Thank you, sir, said the first man. You're welcome. Now go prepare to load the newcomers, said Naruto, to which the 2 men nodded and returned to the rest of the group. Well, it would be best if we left now. There are many things to do at the base, starting with accommodating the American survivors and giving them the basic supplies for their stay at the base, said Naruto, to which Rika nodded. What did the boy say? Ada asked. He says it's best to leave now, since they still have to accommodate us at the base and also give us basic supplies for our stay at the base, translated Natasha, which Ada appreciated. Okay, I see there are between 70 or 80 people. Well, we will divide everyone among the 4 buses. Please form 4 lines, men separated from women, said Naruto, to which Rika translated. Why separate men and women? Asked Ada, believing that this was discriminatory, or that it would be for some specific assignment such as men for defense or military and women for maintenance or food. Rika translated Ada's question to Naruto. The reason for this is because I can see that most of the survivors are boys, and being one I know that boys are more violent and impulsive than girls, so dividing them like this would be more for the protection of the girls to avoid an accident on the way to the base, said Naruto. He says that the division is to avoid accidents and to protect the girls, since he is a boy and most of our survivors are boys, he knows that they are more aggressive and impulsive. So what he wants is to prevent the girls from getting hurt in case there is a problem on the way to the base. Natasha translated to Ada, who now understood and nodded somewhat happily because apparently the boy in front of her was quite cautious and analyzed everything in the future. Oh, I never thought of it like that. Now I know why he is the one in charge of a safe base, said Ada, which intrigued Naruto but made Rika smile. What did she say? Asked Naruto. Nothing important. Just that now he realizes why you are in charge, said Rika, smiling at him. Well, in that case I appreciate it, but we better start moving, said Naruto, to which Natasha translated it to Ada and the three girls nodded. By the way, Miss Romanoff, could you guide me to where they are carrying that cargo I'm talking about? Asked Naruto, to which Natasha nodded. Sure, just follow me. Ada, please tell the pilots to open the cargo hatch, said Natasha, to which Ada nodded. Rikishin, please accompany Miss Ada and give instructions on which truck which groups will go in, said Naruto, to which Rika nodded, and so Ada and Rika went to where the survivors were gathered. Okay then, Naruto-san, follow me. I'll take you to where the cargo compartment is. There are the materials that were sent from our country, said Natasha, to which Naruto nodded and began to walk alongside Natasha, although she was obviously leading the way. Natasha was somewhat happy that the boy was walking alongside her because she thought that the boy would be behind her, and she would take advantage of this to be able to look at his butt or something like that, since he was still wearing his tight suit. With the survivors' Americans. Look, there are those who will take us to the base here, said a boy who was obviously part of those who were plotting something bad. Yeah, who do you think those two are? I mean, the woman is naughty and very beautiful, but the blonde bastard, who do you think he is? A second guy asked the others. He's probably just another lackey of the area boss. Although that woman is really hot, I won't do it if I give her a blowjob, said a third boy with a perverted smile that was ignored by those in his group who were plotting something. Well, calm down now, we'll have time in the future to make all the girls ours. The first thing is to gain their trust, said a fourth boy, although this one is eager to be the brains of the operation. That's right. Oh, Marin are separating, said a fifth boy, watching as Rika and Ada headed towards the survivors, meaning them and the other people who came on the plane, while Naruto and Natasha went to the back of the plane. The bastard is accompanying the naughty redhead. I think I know who will die first when we take control. Nobody messes with my redhead, said a sixth boy who looked at Naruto with daggers in his eyes. Calm down already, idiot. Besides, we had agreed that we would leave that redhead to chance in a poker game, said the fourth boy. Shut up. They're talking to us, said the second boy when he saw that Rika and Ada had arrived where all the survivors were gathered, and now they started talking. Very well, listen everyone, the first thing is that we need you to make 4 lines, 2 for men and 2 for women. This is for safety. If there are small children and their mothers are with them, it doesn't matter if they are boys or girls, they will go on the bus with the women, said Ada, to which the majority felt except for a man who raised his hand and Ada gave him permission to speak. Excuse me, and if my son's mother already knows, what happens in that case? The man asked Ada, who quickly understood what he was referring to, but instead of her speaking, it was Rika who spoke. In that case, you and your son can come in one of the women's buses, or if the leader decides, you can come in one of the cars with us, answered Rika, which relieved the father since he came with a girl of about 4 years old. And since he was a man, and saw that there were many children, he knew that there could be an accident. After all, he was once young, and he knew what they were capable of, although not only him, all the adult men knew it. Thank you very much, that was all, said the man. Once we are at the base, I will take any opportunity to inform the leader of that base regarding what those boys are planning. I can't let what they plan happen, since it will only cause a lot of chaos and many of us will be affected. And I can't allow that, since my daughter could also be affected, and I won't allow that, thought the man with determination. Okay, start forming up as we asked. As for you, sir, come with us, we'll go with the leader in a moment, and see what he decides, said Rika, to which the man nodded and picked up 2 backpacks and his daughter and went to the 2 women. This while the survivors settled in the rows. They requested Rickerson, "I'll go tell the pilot to open the cargo door." "I'll be right back," said Ada, to which Rika nodded, and so Ada went to the pilot to ask him to open the cargo door of the plane. After that she returned to Rika and they continued with the accommodation. Coin Naruto. Why Natasha? Natasha had led Naruto to the rear of the plane, where after a couple of minutes the door began to open. When it opened completely and was on the ground acting as a ramp, Naruto walked towards the interior of the plane. "Natasha-san, do you believe in magic, that some people have special powers?" asked Naruto as he dug into the ground and took out a scroll from the jacket he was wearing. "Well, the truth is yes, because before the team I worked with were people with special powers. I even met a sorcerer once, so you could say I believed in magic," said Natasha, to which Naruto smiled, seeing that he wouldn't have to explain more about what he would do. But at the same time he was intrigued by the idea of a sorcerer and a team of people with special powers. "It's good to go. I'd hate to explain too much what I'm going to do," said Naruto, although he didn't let Natasha speak, since Naruto would have stood up and walked towards the cargo. Let's see, oh, metal plates and some loose metal pieces. Wow, this will be of great help to the base," said Naruto before placing the scroll on top of the cargo, but with the seal part at the bottom. "Alright, here we go, fun," exclaimed Naruto, making a hand seal, only for a few seconds later the cargo to disappear in a puff of smoke. This intrigued and surprised Natasha a little. "What was that?" Natasha asked with a raised eyebrow. "It was just a special technique that allows me to store things inside these scrolls. This makes it easier for us to move many things or heavy objects," Naruto answered, having already stored all the cargo and putting the scroll in his jacket. Then he turned to Natasha and began to leave the cargo area. "Let's go back to the others to leave," Naruto said, to which Natasha nodded, and so they both went back to the US survivors. Upon returning they saw that the survivors were already getting on the buses. Naruto saw that with Ada and Rika there was a man and a little girl. This intrigued him, but still first he was going to ask what happened. "Everything ready?" Rika asked Naruto, who nodded. "If everything is ready, seal the shipment in a scroll," said Naruto, to which Rika nodded. "Now, can you tell me what is going on here?" asked Naruto, looking at the man and his daughter. "You see, there is a small problem here. The man is bringing only his daughter because her mother died from the zombies, and according to what you told us, he felt worried about his daughter because the girl apparently does not want to leave her father's side, and we wanted to see if he could go either in a women's bus or go in one of the cars with us," said Rika. Although of course in Japanese, to avoid the girl hearing that her mother had died because she was still too young to understand that. "I see. Well, the other men will reply and make a big fuss if we let him go in one of the women's buses, so that leaves us with the second option. He will go in one of the cars with us. He and his daughter can take my place in the car. I will go on the roof. Besides, that will help me keep watch and also take care of it if there are problems in any bus," said Naruto, to which Rika nodded, and Natasha was a little surprised. Because someone going on the roof of a car while driving was very dangerous. Not that she hadn't seen people do it before, but it was just something strange to hear it being said by a young boy, but that he said it with such confidence. "Okay, sir, you and your daughter will go in one of the cars. Follow me and I will take you to the car you will go in," said Rika, to which the man nodded and began to follow Rika, although he never lost sight of the second bus of men, because in this one the boys who were plotting something got on. "Okay, Natasha-san, would you and Ada-san go in the second car, or would you prefer to go in the women's trucks?" Naruto asked Natasha, who asked Ada, translating what Naruto said. "We'll go in the trucks, one in each one, so we can make it a little easier for you to solve the problems in case there are any in the women's bus, although I don't think so, but it's better to be safe than sorry," said Natasha, to which Naruto nodded. "Okay, then let's go," said Naruto, and so both women also went each to a truck where the women got in, and Naruto went to the main car that would go at the head of the convoy. When he arrived, he looked out the window inside and saw that everyone was already on. "Is everything okay?" asked Naruto, to which everyone nodded. "Good, I'll check the buses and the rear car and then I'll come back to this one to leave, said Naruto, to which everyone nodded again except for the man and his daughter because they didn't understand Japanese. Okay, we'll be waiting, sir, said the man who was driving before Naruto went to the buses. Upon reaching the first bus, Naruto knocked on the door and the driver opened it. Is everything ready here? Naruto asked the driver and Natasha, who apparently was the one on this bus since it was for women only. Everything is ready, sir. We are just waiting for your signal, said the driver, to which Naruto nodded. Okay, as soon as I get on the roof of the car in front we'll leave, said Naruto before leaving, and the driver nodded. Then Naruto went to the second bus and did the same action as in the first. Only in this one, when he looked, he saw that Ada was going because this one was also for women. Everything ready here? Naruto asked the driver. Yes, sir, everything is ready and waiting for your order, said the man with a nod. Okay, in a few minutes we'll leave, said Naruto, and then went to the next bus. Everything ready here? Any problem? Naruto asked the driver and then looked at the passengers, who seemed to be all adult men and some other young people, although they seemed calm. Also on this bus were the pilots of the plane. No problem, sir, and we are ready to leave as soon as you say so, said the driver, to which Naruto nodded. Okay, I just have to check the last bus and the rear car and we'll go, said Naruto, to which the driver nodded. Then Naruto went to the last bus. And in this one he became more serious because a lot of commotion was already heard. He knocked on the door, and the driver opened it only for a strong sound wave to hit him, causing a slight pain in his ears. Naruto, kill them now. I can't stand all that noise, said Chome. Since being a flying insect he was sensitive to high-pitched noises for some reason. I'm not lacking in desire, my friend, but they are survivors too, Naruto answered, somewhat irritated. Naruto can feel it, right? Asked Kurama to Naruto. Yes, Kurama, they are malicious intentions, and they come from the group of young people in the back of the bus, answered Naruto, watching as the boys smiled arrogantly and with superiority. We must be alert and keep an eye on them. We don't know what they're planning, said Kurama, to which Naruto mentally nodded. Yes, you're right. For now I'll cut the emotional link before something more serious happens to Chome, said Naruto, and with good reason, because Kurama could see how his seven-tailed brother, or well 6 wings and 1 tail, was almost writhing on the ground from the pain caused by the noises of the young people. Okay, we'll talk at the base, said Kurama, to which Naruto nodded and cut the mental link to Komiai's relief because the pain she felt was very strong. Everything ready here? Naruto asked, but the driver barely heard him. I can barely hear you, sir, but we are ready to go, said the driver. Let me help you with the noise, said Naruto, and then made a slight sequence of hand seals and placed them on the floor of the bus, only for it to be closed from the driver's seat to the back by an invisible dome that prevented the sound from coming out of it. Better? Asked Naruto, to which the driver nodded. Yes, better, thank you, sir. I don't know what these kids have, but they are very noisy, said the driver. Just hold on until we get to the base, said Naruto, to which the man sighed. It's very bad, sir, but since there is no other choice, said the man with a certain sense of humor that made Naruto laugh slightly. Don't worry, if there's any trouble just honk the horn and I'll come here, said Naruto, to which the man nodded, and Naruto got off the bus and then went to the car in the back. Are you ready, guys? Asked Naruto to the men in the car in the back, although this car had a hole in the roof through which a man was acting as a turret. Yes, sir, ready when everyone starts moving, said the driver. Ready and alert in case you see any of those jumping things, said the turret man. Okay, get ready, we'll leave now, said Naruto, to which everyone nodded, and Naruto went to the main car and then climbed onto the roof. This surprised the man who was carrying his daughter in his arms. Excuse me, Miss Rika, right? Asked the man, to which the aforementioned only felt. Why did Mr. Naruto go up to the roof? Asked the man, because he thought he would go inside with them. Oh, that's because he let you and your daughter use his seat. He also said that it would help you move between the buses in case there was trouble inside them. Rika answered the man. Although he felt some guilt at first because of him and his daughter, the young man would go on the roof. But he also couldn't feel grateful for the boy's kindness in letting him go in one of the cars with his daughter at the cost of his seat. Without a doubt, the boy in his eyes was someone noble. "Let's go," Naruto shouted, and the driver of the car began to accelerate towards the base. Just as they left the airport, they began to head towards the base along the road they had already created. Only this road began 2 blocks after leaving the airport. When they took the road, all those on the buses were surprised by the large earth walls that rose 20 meters from the ground. "Wow, I wonder how they did it. I don't remember anyone on the team who could do such a thing," Natasha thought as she saw the walls. "I wonder how they managed to create those walls. Although they seem to be made of rock, they also look very solid," thought Ada, also looking at the walls in surprise. But suddenly shots began to be heard coming from the car that was in the back of the convoy. Some survivors had been scared, but the drivers did not even bother. "What's going on back there?" asked the one in the car Naruto was in. "Nothing good, 2 tanks are chasing us, and also a few normal zombies," said the one who confounded. "What's going on?" Naruto asked the driver of the car he was riding in on the roof. "Sir, 2 tanks are chasing us, the ones in the back are shooting at them, but some normal zombies are also coming," said the driver, to which Naruto nodded. "Okay, follow the path, I'll take care of it," said Naruto before jumping and landing on the roof of the bus Ada was on. Then he did the same to the others until he reached the car that was shooting. When he fell next to the turret, Naruto could see the 2 tanks and several zombies, at least 20. "Sir, rifle bullets don't affect them," said the man carrying a carbine rifle. "Don't waste any more ammo," said Naruto, and the man stopped shooting. "Keep going, I'll catch up with you as soon as I'm done with them," said Naruto, and without letting the men answer, Naruto jumped towards the zombies. As Naruto fell, he took out a few kunai and started throwing them towards the small zombies, killing 5, leaving them with 14 normal ones and the 2 tanks. Making some hand signs, he prepared his technique. "Fire-style big fireball," Naruto explained, raising a fireball that hit the zombies, finishing off the normal ones but enraging the tanks for having been burned. "Well, now that I have your full attention, let's start this dance," said Naruto with a smile as he was enveloped by a reddish cloak with 2 tails. Naruto instantly disappeared in a trail of speed only to appear in front of the 2 tanks. He instantly hit one in the jaw with a right hook and then quickly turned around and kicked the other in the jaw, which caused him to rise a few inches off the ground. As he fell to the seal, Naruto had to dodge a large piece of rock that the tank had thrown at him. That hit him in the face. "Stop, who's mad? Well, I'll finish you off first," said Naruto, but instantly he had to put his arms in an X to cover himself from a punch which sent him flying a few meters as he was taken by surprise. Naruto recovered in the air and landed on the ground, brushing himself off a bit. "Well, I wanted to play a little, but it won't work. I need to get back to the group quickly," so said Naruto, only to raise his 2 hands to his sides and 2 clones appeared next to him. "Entertain them a little," said Naruto, noticing how the 2 tanks attacked him. The clones listened and went to entertain the tanks a little, while the original Naruto finished his technique. "Here we go," said Naruto, concentrating chakra in his hands and forming an Rasengan. Then he began to introduce wind chakra, causing the Rasengan to grow 4 blades that spun intensely, creating a squeaking sound. "Ready, here it goes," said Naruto to his clones, which were holding the tanks with their arms as they were in a fight of exerting forces with the tanks that were trying to crush them. "Okay, all yours, boss," said the clones before disappearing. "Now die. Rasengan," Naruto exclaimed, throwing the 2 Rasen shuriken towards the tanks, who received the attack fully, and when it made contact with the tanks they exploded in a white dome that turned red due to the fact that they were tearing the tanks apart. When the dome disappeared a few seconds later, only some remains of meat and eggs could be seen scattered around, because that was all that was left of the 2 mutants. "Well, here we finish. Time to go back to the group, Naruto said to himself before starting to run with his ninja speed, and in less than 2 minutes he had reached the car where the turret keeper was. Well, problem solved, said Naruto, standing next to the turret keeper. That was fast, sir. I think he broke his time marker against special zombies, said the turret, to which Naruto smiled. Really? I didn't even count the time. How much was it? Naruto asked, to which the man looked at his wrist where he had a watch. 1 minute and 30 seconds, said the man, to which Naruto smiled. It seems I broke your record, Jack, said Naruto to the man who was driving, now known as Jack. It seems so, sir. Even if you don't trust me, you'll see that one of these days I'll finish off one of them in less time, said the aforementioned Jack with a smile. Is that a challenge? Naruto asked with amusement, to which the man just smiled. Maybe yes, maybe not, said Jack, shrugging his shoulders. Well, we'll see then, said Naruto, and then walked to the hood of the car. I'll return to the first car. See you at the base. I don't think we'll run into any more zombies or mutants, said Naruto, to which the men who were in that car nodded, and Naruto jumped towards the bus in front, and so on until he reached the car that was leading the convoy. What happened, Naruto? Asked Taika from inside the car. Nothing, just 2 tanks and 20 normal zombies, said Naruto, to which Ryak raised an eyebrow when he saw that Naruto was smiling. Why are you smiling like you're happy? What else happened? Rika asked Naruto. It took me a minute and a half to take care of them, said Naruto, to which Rika now understood why the smile. Wow, I bet Jack said I could beat that time, said Rika, to which Naruto just smiled. Yes, but he will only stay and try, because if he breaks that record I will do it again too, said Naruto, smiling confidently. Hey, at least give them some advantage, or let them have something to be proud of, said Rika, to which Naruto just laughed a little. Maybe I'll consider it. What do you give me in exchange for doing that? Naruto asked in a somewhat suggestive manner, to which Rika blushed slightly. I don't know, I'll think of something, said Rika with a slight blush. Okay, let me know when you know, said Naruto, and once he said that, no one spoke again for the rest of the way. 10 minutes later. The group was reaching the base wall. At the gates were already waiting for them 6 men who were the guards. Seeing the convoy already, Naruto on the main car opened the gates for them to pass. When they passed, they closed the gates and continued with their work of watching. The buses advanced a couple more blocks, since the exploration they had done had managed to make a radius of 8 blocks inside the walls before reaching the mansion. And thanks to that, there were fences of about 80 houses inside. The walls already, some survivors were scattered in these houses and some were still alone. After passing 2 blocks, the buses stopped near the sidewalk. Naruto got off the roof of the car and the drivers of the trucks. Also the armed men got out of the cars along with Rika, in addition to the American man and his daughter. What's going on? Ada asked after getting off when she saw that everyone had gotten off. Nothing, just that we're here. From here on we'll walk because we can't take the trucks any further and because it would be very difficult to make them turn around, and also leaving them close to the exit will help us save fuel, answered Rika as Natasha and Steve arrived, who was curious about why she had stopped and was on the 3rd bus. What's going on? Natasha asked as she arrived with the group. Let's let them know that they can come down now. It seems that we are already in the safe zone, Ada answered to what Natasha asked. I'll be in charge of notifying the men on the buses, Steve said, to which both women nodded, and so they went to notify the buses. Immediately the survivors began to get off the buses. Listen, we'll walk to that mansion, that's our main base, and that's where the base's leader currently resides, Rika said in English to all the newly arrived survivors. What about the houses inside the safe zone? Ada asked. SN, where all the survivors who have arrived at this base live. Most of the houses are already occupied and only a few are left. We will see which ones to place you and who, since I don't think everyone will get a house even if they share it between 6 or 7, said Rika, and when saying it in English it could be understood by the survivors who got off the bus, and some made faces in disgust because most of them did not like walking, and even less when they saw that there were 5 streets, and 1 street. Going up, Naruto saw this and smiled somewhat amused. Wow, looks like this is going to be fun with the new ones, Naruto said to himself. Oh, I like watching this. I think I'll stay awake for a few days to see what happens, said Kurama with amusement, as he also noticed the grimaces of some young boys and girls. How long do you think they'll last? Naruto asked his friend as he turned around and started walking towards the mansion. A week or a week and a half, maximum, said Kurama. Well, let's see how long they can stand having to work to survive, said Naruto, which earned a slightly evil laugh from Kurama. The group walked until they reached the mansion. When they arrived, some guards opened the gate doors, and so the group entered the mansion and arrived at the main courtyard where Yuriko and some of the boys were already waiting for them, those being Takashi and Hirano, in addition to Konan and Mikoto. The 12 young men from the United States, upon seeing the women, only showed a perverted look and had thoughts similar to "we have won the lottery with this base." Naruto-kun, I'm glad to see you, and I'm glad everything went well, said Rika as she reached Naruto and then hugged him. Yes, the truth is there was only one setback, but nothing difficult. Just 2 tanks that appeared along with some normal zombies, but nothing I couldn't take care of, said Naruto, smiling and caressing Yuriko's cheek, this to the jealousy of 3 women. Naruto-kun, the sentries on the southern wall saw a horde of 25 zombies, among which was a hunter and a boomer. They were about 4 blocks from the wall, Konan said, to which Naruto nodded. Wow, what a boomer! It's been a while since I saw one of those explode, said Naruto, somewhat excited. The group you sent just this morning returned an hour ago and brought with them enough canned supplies for 9 houses, said Mikoto, referring to the fact that they could support the refugees in 9 houses that were outside the mansion walls. I see. I will need a report on all the supplies we have to see how much they will be used for breakfast, lunch, and dinner tomorrow, said Naruto, to which Mikoto nodded. Yuriko-kun, how many houses are left uninhabited? Asked Naruto. I think we have about 10 left. I think they are the ones in the east area and the furthest from the mansion, that is, the ones that are up to the edges, answered Yuriko in a pose as if thinking or remembering. Well, I think they will be enough, although I think that later we will have to expand even more, said Naruto when he saw that he would need more houses so that the survivors would be comfortable. Well, why don't we accommodate them now? That way we can take advantage of the time to attend to those important matters, and that way they will start helping as soon as possible, Rika said to Naruto, who nodded and walked to where he had raised the ground a little to create a mini-stage that time when Koishi's Shido was executed. Naruto climbed onto the improvised stage and Rika stood by his side to translate. Listen, he is Uzumaki Naruto, the leader and who runs this safe zone. Now we will accommodate you in some houses that are still unoccupied. There are few, so you will have to share the house with several people unless you decide to stay in camping houses, some in a patio, said Rika, to which several made a face in disgust. Apparently they did not like to share, at least that was in the army of men. Only a few women were those who frowned too, although the boys were somewhat incredulous to know that this boy was the leader and was the one they had to obey. Without a doubt more than one was bothered by that. Well, I'll start by saying the rules of this base. Rika began to translate the regulations that Naruto said, among which stood out the rule of no violence, that is, no fights, mistreatment, or abuse of any kind, never go out on your own outside the Moros, always help someone who needs it, and above all harassment was prohibited. Those would be some of the rules we have here. At the gate here of the mansion are all the rules, so I recommend you read them. Another thing is that in this base breakfast is at 830. You have until 930 to arrive to eat, or otherwise you will not be given lunch, and you will have to wait until 230, which is when it is time to eat. Then dinner time is at 730, and absolutely everyone must be inside their assigned houses before 10 o'clock p.m., of course with the exception of the security personnel, or the reliefs, or some other authorized ones, since they are the ones who take care of this base at night to prevent the zombies from translating Rika what Naruto said. Well, that's all. In the afternoon you will be given a blanket and everything basic to survive, said Ryaka this time, but without translating to Naruto. Now we will take you to the houses you will share, and this will also be the same as in the buses, men and women separated to avoid problems. Those who are family will be allowed to live in the same house that they will also share with other families to take advantage of the space. That's all, and remember, there are always those who watch to avoid fights inside the base, finished saying Rika, and then she and Naruto will get off the stage and go to a wall that was a few meters further away where you could see a kind of map of the city. What an organization you have here, said Carol's voice, reaching where Natasha, Ada, and Steve were. Nothing better than a military explanation to start the day, or at least it was something like that when the rules were mentioned, and I personally like them. Processing each one of them well, you realize that they are all necessary to maintain good stability within this base and thus avoid conflicts. In addition, helping whoever needs it is something we should do out of habit, said Steve with a half smile. I think you and the boy will get along well, Captain, said Natasha, to which Steve just looked at her, still smiling, and then looked at Naruto. Probably yes, because I like your way of thinking. It reminds me of my wartime, said Steve as Naruto and Rika returned. Okay everyone, come on, follow us, we'll take you to where your houses will be, said Rika, and so they began to lead the survivors to their new homes. Chapter 10. 3 weeks passed since the survivors from the United States arrived at the safe zone. During this time the safe zone was expanded by about 10 more blocks, now having enough streets and houses for the refugees, although they still had to share them, but it was no longer by much. But now it was 4 people per house. Another thing that happened was a little funny, because the newly arrived survivors could not stand the pace. They were at the base for even 2 days, or at least the young people did, since the adults had no problems following the orders given to them, but the young people replied all the time. In addition, several complaints arose that some young people gave orders saying that they were Naruto's orders. It should be said that when Naruto found out, he spoke with Natasha, and let's say that the young people did not do very well, since they protested that there was a lot of work they had to do, which was only helping to take care of the crops, clean the houses, or plant trees, or things like that simple. And when they complained that it was a lot, Natasha and Naruto gave them a tour of the most difficult jobs there were. Some examples were the lookouts, since they had to be alert all the time without being distracted, to always be prepared in case of a zombie Arda attack. Another was the radio station, since they had to start transmitting bulletins about the secure base and also being aware of the schedules to warn when it was time to distribute food or things like that. And speaking of distributing food, this was another of the most difficult things, since those who did this work had to be almost all day separating and organizing the rations, because since there were so many people, food was no longer prepared. Instead, they gave canned food at mealtimes, so people took it home and ate it whenever they wanted or ate it instantly. Those were some examples of the hardest jobs there were. Naruto didn't teach them all the jobs of the armories and the warehouse and supplies because he didn't trust the boys yet, although he made them believe that he fully trusted them. But in reality it wasn't like that. This thanks to the fact that he already knew what they were planning, thanks to the man to whom he had given up his seat in the car when those survivors arrived. Naruto now knew that the young people, or well, just some of them, wanted to make a coup to take over the leadership of the base and abuse all the girls who lived there, but Naruto wouldn't let them and was just waiting for a false move from them, to now apply the same weight as Koichi Shido, or something similar. Who knows, maybe these boys would die too. Now changing the subject, Naruto began to train with Kagaya in the use of the Rinnegan, this to know how to handle it and try to evolve it to the Rinne Sharingan. But, although Kagaya was the one who instructed Naruto, he only managed to master them a little, not yet completely. Let's say that he knew how to use them at 60%. Also with the Onmyotan he could already create several things without getting tired. And the first thing he started to do were bullets, this to have ammunition and not lack them. On the other hand, in these 3 weeks Naruto made his moves with both kunoichis, because in the end Yuriko was right, and both Konan and Mikoto were attracted to him, so they started a love relationship, although Mikoto and Konan already knew that they would have to share it, but they did not care. Alice was finally happy, because her father was finally able to get out of bed, since he had already recovered. The father was happy to still be alive and to be with his daughter. Naruto, being present, smiled happily seeing the happy girl. However, Shizuka still told him that he shouldn't make too much effort. On the other hand, the construction of the underground base advanced significantly, since they had already managed to make it deeper and longer, and they also managed to put wood to avoid a collapse. This in which some of those who knew about electricity put electric current in the base, then some also put ducts for ventilation. In addition, they still needed to put water pipes to be able to make the underground rooms for greater safety of the survivors. Current time. Naruto was leaving the mansion to go check on the status of the base, and that the survivors from the United States were okay or were not causing problems. He also had to accompany a group that would go out in search of supplies, since now that there were more survivors, they would need more supplies. Naruto, we're ready, said Iori as he saw Naruto leave the mansion. Very well, let's go. By the way, we'll see if the new ones aren't causing problems, said Naruto, still walking and now being followed by those who would go with him, being these Iori, Shin, Siko, Yuni and Misato. Yesterday afternoon I heard that some of the new guys, more specifically the young guys, were slacking off instead of doing their jobs, said Shino, which Naruto nodded at. Yes, it seems they think they are the ones in charge or that they have special privileges just for being from another country, Naruto replied mockingly. I heard you took some of them to see the toughest jobs. Why did you do that? Siko asked, intrigued. Well, Sika-kan, that was because apparently they were giving orders in my name, and it was also very hard for them just to pick up and keep clean a house, or rather the one they are staying in, Naruto answered, remembering that day, which made him smile. By the way, where are we going now? Misato asked with intrigue. We'll go to the eastern part of the city, about 20 blocks from here. We'll look for supplies, and if we find survivors we'll help them, said Naruto as they left the mansion grounds and headed towards the gate of the walls to leave the base. On the way they deviated a little and passed through the streets where the houses where the Americans lived were. Apparently everything was in order and there were no problems. Everyone downplayed it and began to head towards the exit. Steve Rogers, or better known as Captain America, was exercising in the front yard of the house that had been assigned to him and shared with Elise, Coach, Nick, Rochelle, Carol, Natasha and Ada. Steve was exercising when he saw Naruto walk past a group of armed young men. He noticed that they were heading towards the doors to leave the walls. Natasha, Steve called to the woman who was practicing hand-to-hand combat with Ada. Yes? Natasha asked, stopping her practice and turning towards Steve. You know the language of this country, right? Steve asked, to which Natasha felt fine. Follow me then, Steve said, and then started heading towards Naruto's group. When he heard one of the gates of the houses open and close, he turned his gaze to see who came out, because he remembered that he had passed the house where the representatives of the United States were, and at the same time, the translators. When he turned to see who came out of the house, Naruto stopped when he saw Steve and Natasha walking towards them. The boys saw that Naruto stopped, and they did the same. Is something wrong? Naruto asked when Steve and Natasha arrived where he and his group were. Natasha, asked him where they are going, said Steve, to which Natasha nodded. Naruto, Steve here wants to know where you're going, said Natasha, fudging what Steve asked for. Well, we're heading out on a supply run mission. We'll go about 20 to 30 blocks east and see if we can find any more survivors too, Naruto answered honestly. What did he say? Steve asked. He said they're going on a mission to look for supplies and survivors, Natasha replied, to which Steve was surprised that such a small group was going on a mission. Ask him if he would let me accompany him, said Steve, because he was one of those who would help if he could. The question is, would they let us accompany them on their mission? Natasha said to Naruto, who thought about it for a bit, but finally nodded. Of course, we could use some help, and this way I'll see if I can blindly trust you to go on a mission, Or well, if you want to go on search or recovery missions outside the base, Naruto replied with a smile. He said that if we can accompany him, and that it would also help him see if he can blindly trust us in case we want to go on search or recovery missions outside the walls, said Natasha, to which Steve smiled and extended his hand towards Naruto to shake his hand. I'd love that, Steve said. He says he would like to go out and help, said Natasha, to which Naruto smiled and returned the greeting to Steve. It will be a pleasure to work with you. Now what kind of weapon will you need? Naruto asked after leaving the greeting. Natasha translated Naruto's question to Steve. He says that if by chance you would have a round shield, Natasha said, to which Naruto raised an eyebrow. A shield? Naruto asked, intrigued. He has always used a shield as a weapon, although his shield was special, because it was made of a very resistant metal, said Natasha. I see, but no, unfortunately we don't have a shield, Naruto replied. Steve, it seems he doesn't have a shield. Anything else? Natasha asked. Well, if there is no other option, a handgun, Steve said to Natasha, who nodded. Naruto, we would both be fine with a handgun, said Natasha, to which Naruto nodded. Iori, give me the P911 you have on your waist, said Naruto, to which the aforementioned nodded and took out said weapon, since he carried a carbine and the P911 was his secondary era. Misato, give me your 45mm, said Naruto, and the aforementioned also gave the weapon to Naruto, who took them and offered them to Natasha and Steve. Steve took the P911 and Natasha with the 45mm, then the boys gave him the ammunition magazines for said weapons, being about 5 of each weapon, and Naruto also took them and then gave them to Natasha and Steve. Are you ready? Naruto asked the two in front of him. Yes, we regularly wear suits for our missions, but I think with these clothes we can, so if we are ready, answered Natasha, to which Naruto smiled. If you want, we can wait for you to put on those suits. After all, if you are comfortable, you perform better, said Naruto. Thank you very much, we won't be long, said Natasha, and so she and Steve went back to the house to put on their suits. About 10 minutes passed when they came back out, Natasha with her tight suit and Steve with his Captain America suit. We're ready, said Natasha, and so the group left towards the doors to begin their mission. The exploration group had advanced for about 5 blocks because from there they began to look for supplies. They had to cover a radius of 5 to 20 blocks in search of supplies and survivors. They began searching in some houses. Luckily they did not run into zombies. But there were no supplies, although what there were knives that would help them fight the zombies in case they ran out of ammunition. The group continued exploring some more houses. Now they were 10 blocks from the base and were exploiting what appeared to be a private residential area. In these houses lived people who were not rich but undoubtedly had a lot of money. Some were even collectors. At this time Iori, Shin, Uni and Misato were investigating one of the houses of the private, while Naruto, Natasha, Siko and Steve were looking in the house next to the one of the previous group. Let's go in quietly in case there are some zombies inside, said Naruto, to which everyone nodded and pulled the triggers of their weapons to make sure they were loaded. Naruto opened the door slowly so as not to make noise. When it was completely open he saw that it was safe, at least the hall. The group entered in silence and advanced until they were in the living room. When they arrived they saw the interior somewhat surprised, because it seemed that the owner was a collector of medieval things. Because there were some armor, there was a wall with a display case where there were swords, crossbows, axes and other weapons. Wow, who would have thought that someone would be interested in these things, said Natasha, looking around. You're right, but thanks to that, now I have this, said Steve, who was in front of a Roman armor which seemed to be completely placed on a mannequin that had a spear in his left hand and a shield in his right hand. Steve took the shield, which for his taste was round, but it was heavier than his previous shield, and he didn't think it could resist the same. At least you found something familiar, said Natasha, seeing Steve with the shield already up. Yes, but it's heavier and I don't think it will last as long, said Steve, then took a piece of red metal out of a bag in his suit. Also, according to what I know, my old shield was made of vibranium, But now after that fight, this is the only thing I have left of it, said Steve, looking at the piece of metal in his hand. Hey, we should keep checking. I've finished sealing the spiders and armor, but we still need to check the rest of the house, Naruto said to Natasha, who nodded and told Steve that they should continue. So the four of them went to the kitchen, since it was their most important objective, to find supplies. When they arrived, they saw that there was only one zombie there. I'll take care of him, Steve said. Wait, said Naruto, stopping him when he saw that he was advancing. Steve stopped when he understood Naruto's gesture, then he looked towards the direction where the zombie was and saw how another one arrived through another door. Then Naruto took out 2 kunai. Steve realized this and was intrigued as to how the boy would use those knives. Because getting closer was dangerous since they didn't know if there were more zombies where the other zombie came from. Let's see. Right here, said Naruto, pointing his kunai, since if he failed it could cause the zombies to be alerted, and if there were more zombies nearby it could alert them too. Then Naruto threw the kunai, hitting the 2 zombies in the head, which fell dead. Search, I'll guard the other entrance, said Siko, unsheathing her katana. Okay, let's look quickly, Naruto said to Natasha, to which she told Steve, and so the 3 of them went to look in the whole kitchen for some supplies while Siko took care that no more zombies arrived. For 5 minutes they were searching, but they didn't find anything except for some cleaning supplies, despite not being what they expected. Naruto still took them because just because it was the end of the world didn't mean they couldn't have clean houses. Well, there were only cleaning supplies. Let's keep searching the house, said Naruto, to which the 2 girls nodded and continued searching. The Cap just followed them because if they didn't find anything it was obvious they would keep searching.